if you are born on an 11 day, you're someone who is intuition's very high. And then I started to look into it a lot more, but it stayed at the back of my mind for a long time. It just blew my mind.
I've seen the code behind every successful business and it's all in the numbers.
And when I look at any businesses now, any person who had a successful business, it's all in the same pattern. You can only be 12 personalities. That is all you can be. Threes are the content creators. Mr. Beast, KSI, I Show Speed, they're life path threes or Master 33 because that your end level. It's the last level when you get to the end. When you look at the evidence around you, all these powerful figures who have used this stuff, it's hard to knock it off. When you're a master number in numerology, essentially means that you have completed the 1 to 9 cycle and you've now graduated, I guess you could say, to the master number energy. The universe will never grant you unlimited abundance in exchange for nothing. So you could sit here going, oh, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to do all this. And the universe is going to go, okay, what are you exchanging?
Welcome back to the podcast, guys. First recording. Joe's been overseas, our producer, so I haven't recorded one for a little while. So if I'm rusty, forgive me, but this is one, not an econ one, but trust me, if you're an econ business, just an ambitious young person looking to improve your life, this episode may help you more than any other econ one ever has before. It's something I'm really fascinated about. Personally, I haven't done not even a fraction of the research into it that Andre has, the man sitting across from me today. But judging by how quickly you've grown on social media, there are a lot of other people that are really fascinated in this. So Andre is an Australian numerologist, absolutely blowing up across social media at the moment. Really cool having a pre-podcast chat before. And he's been doing this for years and years and years, but he only went on social media late last year and everything was very tactical and all these dates. And he's got already over 100K on TikTok. We booked you in on the podcast for today, like maybe a month ago. You had like 12K followers already, over 40-something thousand on Instagram. Everyone knows it's a lot harder to get followers on Instagram. So the way I'm thinking about this, and we were just chatting literally for an hour, we could have recorded the whole conversation. The way I'm thinking about we handle this topic of numerology and how this can help people get the best out of themselves in their lives. We'll do a little bit of an intro, like we'll go over the basic things, life paths, where's my OT expression numbers, all that, like sub energy days. I've already learned so much. And then I think we want to definitely tie it a lot back into business and entrepreneurship as well, because we have a lot of listeners like that. But before we jump into it, thanks for coming, brother. Really, really appreciate it.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. Really, really easy to talk to. I know this could be a long one. If it goes too long, we might put it into 2 parts. But before we get into all that stuff, I'd just love to know, like, when did you get into numerology and how did this call you in? Like, what happened for you and what did numerology do for your life? Because I know it's been a complete game changer for you completely.
It definitely has. So where it started for me, it started at a young age. I think for me, numbers are something that I never thought I'd be doing numerology. Let's put it out there, right? But the universe always finds its way, exactly what you're meant to do, right? So someone like me growing up, I always could feel things. I always could understand emotions. I could understand how people would feel a certain way. When you walk into a room and you feel that little buzz or that little gut feeling, yeah. I've always had that, but I never thought much of it. And then as I guess the years go on, you go through life, you go through everything, you're kind of discovering what you want to become. And then you get to a point where you reflect and you're like, what's happening, what's going on. But I always found throughout my journey, the number 11 always followed me. 11 is something that, again, holds a very special place in my heart. We'll get into it probably a bit more later, but 11 always followed me everywhere I went. Being born on the 11th day, that's something that I always connected. But again, I always went...
11th day of the year as well, not just the 11th day of the month.
Yeah, the first 11th day of the year, exactly. So everything kind of, it always followed me, right? And then it got to a point where, I was working jobs and doing everything in my young adult years. And then I realized that, look, there's got to be more to life. There's got to be something. And I know people probably listening to this are going to feel the same way. There's always something more, right? There's something more. And I know people are going to realize that. But what happened with me is that I started to look into it a bit more because I was working these jobs 7 days a week, hospitality, big corporation. I can't say who, but obviously I was working a big hospitality job. And then I was just like, there's got to be more. Obviously, you're working 7 days a week, 13-hour days. You're not really sure where life's taking you, right? And then eventually it got to a point where I was like, I need to see more because I'm seeing obviously online, you see people who are living their best life, people who are at a young age, even doing it. How are they doing it? So I asked myself a lot of questions, right? And then somehow I kind of stumbled onto numerology because I remember there was like a kind of like a video where it kind of was just like a text on a screen, how when you scroll and everything. And it talked about the number 11. And it talked about how if you are born on an 11 day, you're someone who is very in tune. You're very, your intuition's very high. Your spirituality is very high. And it's funny because I remember when I first saw that, I was like, oh, it's weird because I don't really feel that way, right? And that's when you start thinking, okay, it's interesting, but it stayed at the back of my mind for a long time.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, and then whenever something happened, I could sense things were going to happen. It's like, oh, that happened, or
Yeah.
and then it goes back. The 11 is something that can do this. So then I started to look into it a lot more. What does it mean when you're born on a certain day? And that's where it just opened up this whole, I guess you could say, world of just, information, knowledge, things that it just blew my mind. It's like,
There's a quote of yours that I read, and you've actually like said it to me as well. And I don't really want to get you to fully elaborate on this because I think the more people listen to this podcast, it will sort of, the answers will come. But I've seen the code behind every successful business, and it's all in the numbers.
yes.
So don't give it all away yet, but elaborate. What does that mean? Because you say like once you've seen the code and once you know you're aware of the game,
Yeah, the game. Yeah.
it's easier to play. Like what does that mean in essence?
So what do you mean? So going back to numerology, when I discovered it, it was something where I started to see patterns, right? Because the more I looked into it, the more I started to discover who I was. And then you get this real fascination of numbers. You start looking at, okay, why? Okay, if I'm born on the 11th, right? And then there's this billionaire that's born on a certain day, what does that mean? And then you start going down a little bit of that, I guess you could say, rabbit hole, and you start looking at everything, asking questions. And then when you get to a point of when you research and read books and everything that you can do on numerology over the years and years that I've done this, you see the pattern. The pattern starts to do it. And when I look at any businesses now, any person who has had a successful business, anybody who has, I guess, come out of nowhere and got mad success very quickly, it's all in the same pattern. And it's, obviously there's a lot more I could go into, but when you relay it back, everything is the same.
So again, I know we got there's certain things we've got to be careful about what we say, but do you think the people that have extreme wealth and a lot of power in the world, do you think they are consciously aware of numerology?
Yes, 100%.
And I just think just think about that for the people that aren't sure about this. If the people in the positions of power are, live and breathe by this sort of stuff, I think it's worth exploring.
For sure.
And I think later on in the episode, I've heard through a couple of your clients some really amazing testimonies about what numerology has done for their lives. So we'll talk about that later. But let's just jump in for the base people that don't really know much about numerology. Where is the starting point of knowledge? What I've got is life paths is one of the first things that I want to talk about. But before we even get into life paths, how would you just describe what numerology is and the belief in numerology?
Of course, yeah. So obviously numerology is a form of spirituality, right? For a lot of people who don't know. Yeah. It's similar to saying astrology or anything. It's kind of whatever kind of speaks to you the most, right? And numbers is one of the ones that spoke to me the most. How life path and, numerology works is that when you were born into this universe, that you got a date of birth, right? All those numbers are put on your birth certificate. Those numbers represent a vibrational energy. And when you add all these numbers up, right? All you have to do is add these numbers up. You get left with a single digit, unless it's a master number, which we'll go into, I assume, a bit later. Yes. But the number you land on is your life path number. And that number alone is you. Everything you are imprinted with the personality, your likes, your dislikes, what you're into, what you're not into, this reveals you as a person. This is you in this universe. And I think it's such a powerful knowledge to know because, again, it's something that if you're not sure what's happening, right? You go through life, you're like, what do I do? Who am I? This reveals it from day dot. This is actually who you are.
How long has numerology been practiced? And is there any evidence of it being practiced in ancient civilization to Egypt or anything like that?
Yeah, so a lot of the numerology calculators that I use is obviously based on Pythagoras. So obviously, we all went through school, right? Pythagoras theorem, right? But he is the one who actually created a lot of this numerology stuff where, a letter represents a certain vibration, a number represents certain vibration. And obviously as it comes through it as well, there's all these books, the knowledge is out there. And I always say to every client that I help, the knowledge is there. You just got to find it.
Hey, just quickly, if you're interested in getting started in e-com or scaling your current brand, or maybe even just getting your current idea off the ground, then send me a message on Instagram and I'll reply to you personally as soon as I get a chance. I usually only take on a few people per month for mentorship, so if you're interested in having a chat, shoot me a DM with the word mentor and we'll go from there. Anyway, enough from me. Let's get back to the pod.
So this is going to be a very general question before we go start going more specific as we dig into the meat of it. Mm-hmm. But and it obviously it's very broad, but how can someone, what sort of impact can understanding numerology and working with your numerology, how can that benefit or affect people's lives?
Yeah, so obviously, first you got to find out who you are. And this is where the power of the life path number comes in, because again, it reveals you, right? And anybody who's watching this, go calculate your life path, your date of birth right now, and you'll land on a certain number. And when you land on that number, look up what that number means. And I can guarantee you're going to be very surprised. But to answer your question, right? It gives you a complete profile of who you are. And there are certain energies that should be doing certain things in life. And this is why I think it's so important. If you understand who you truly are, you can fulfill what you're meant to do.
Just say, I've come across your content and let's say other numerologists, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm really starting to see like a lot of things that speak to me, seen a lot of like testimonials from say your clients, from other numerologist clients. And you're like, you know what, there's something to this. I've seen so much, like the evidence is undeniable.
Yeah.
Where does it start? So does it start on figuring out your life path? Would that be, help me start this process?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Life paths.
Yeah, so you want to start off who you are. So add up your date of birth, and then whatever number you land on, that's your life path number, right?
So what do the life paths mean? Like what does it mean to someone?
So in numerology, when I say life paths, there's 12 life paths that you can be, right? So obviously the first one is life paths 1 all the way through to 9. So life path 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9. And then you have 3 extra life paths, which are known as master numbers, right? And these are very special numbers because these are, when you're a master number in numerology, essentially means that you have completed the 1 to 9 cycle, right? And you've now graduated, I guess you could say, to the master number energy. And what that comes with, it comes with a lot of lessons. It comes with a lot of guidance. But what you'll find is we're here to actually guide people. We're here to show people. But to answer your question as to, what does it mean? When you look up who your number is, like what your number is, sorry, then you start researching about what you are. So for example, I know if people who are born on the 1st, 10th, 19th or 28th, these are born leaders. These are people who actually have a drive and want to actually, create something. And I always say, if you're born on this day, you need to create something of yourself. Don't ever go in there and go into the system and work a job, because you have the leadership energy. That's the life path 1. And then if we look at, say, people who are born on the 5th, 14th, or even the 23rd, these energies are the freedom ones. They're the ones that like to holiday, like to work remotely, like to be all traveling, like they can't be in the same spot for too long. So everybody has a personality. And like I said off camera as well, you can only be 12 personalities. That is all you can be. So this is why I do what I do, to show people you can discover who you are. It's always been in you. It's just something you got to look into, and you will start understanding all.
So I'd love to look. We're not going to. I'm not going to get you to regurgitate a textbook or anything like that. But like, okay, you've explained one. That's the leadership life path. Let's do like a couple sentences on each, because there's going to be. I know what people like. I'm going to be pausing the podcast. Let me go calculate mine so I can listen ahead. So we're going to go through and get Andre's like brief description of each one, and then you can go and do your deeper research. Yeah. So 1 is the leadership life path.
So life path 1, you're a leader. You're someone who, again, you're the leadership trait. You're the first one. This is why I always say you are the leader, the CEO, the own boss, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it. That is life path 1. If you're a life path 2, you're more about balance and harmony and emotion. So this is something that you're really good at, kind of keeping harmony around everybody. Your whole energy is balance and adaptability. That's the number one thing. Yeah. When you're a life path 3,
start speaking about these and you instantly start thinking about people in your lives. I bet you're that person.
And this is the power of numerology. When you start discovering it, you can really read into who you are and other people around you. It's all about energy. But if we go back to 3, life path 3s are really, really special. I love life path 3s because life path 3s are the content creators. These are the ones where I talk about, if you have 3 energy, all the biggest stars in the world, I'm talking like Mr. Beast, KSI, iShow Speed, they're life path 3s. They have the 3 energy, because 3 is the content creator, right? Or the creative one, you could say, and C is the 3rd letter. So everything matches up to letterology and here. So that's life path 3.
So the creatives, could it be like painters, artists?
Could be anything.
Musicians.
A lot of musicians, a lot of social media influencers, a lot of YouTubers are life path 3s. When you look it up, you're going to see the patterns that come in, right? Life path 4s. Life path 4s is the structure and order. So they're the ones that do really well when it's corporate jobs, when it's lawyers, accountants. Yeah. Think of it as like the big corporate jobs, essentially, because life path 4s are the hardest workers in the room and they'll outwork everybody. That's usually the personality trait. As I mentioned before with the 5s is the freedom seeker. So that's the one that likes to be out and about, can't be in the same spot for too long, right? And they do really well when it comes to careers with remote work, right? Or anything to do with sales, because you're connecting. We talk about life path 6s now. 6 is the number of home and family and unity, right? So when you look at people who have this energy, if you look at career-wise, real estate is number 1, because you have the ability, because again, you are talking about home, right? And the home orientation, you're the family one. So you can really relate using this skill, right? But again, it's also family, loyalty, and staying obviously around your loved ones. Life path 7 is the number of knowledge and wisdom. So this is somebody who, again, I always say life path 7s are one of the smartest people you'll ever meet.
Yeah.
But they're usually the people who like to stay in their own space. They don't like to be out in public. They don't like to be in big crowds. They kind of like to be in their own little solitude, right? But I guarantee you they're one of the smartest people you ever come across. So that's life path 7. Life path 8, I like to call is the CEO energy. This is when, again, similar to the 1, but there's a big difference when we look at numerology because 1 is odd number, 8 is an even number. But 8 is more, it's a combination of power, legacy, and really big drive. Your goals are like, I want to create something of my own. I'm going to leave a legacy. This is who I am, right? And then obviously 8 has a lot to do with the number of money, which we can go into a bit later, but that's another thing. Life path 9s are the humanitarians. They're the ones that really focus on helping people, whether it's helping build them up, whether it's obviously showing them a new skill. You have a big passion for helping out people who are a bit less fortunate, but you just want to make an impact. And that's who you are as a life path 9.
How does the math work out to be like most people fall 1 to 9 and then there's 11, 22, 33?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to touch next. So with master numbers, right? This is the next section. So I've just covered the 1 to 9s, right? So this is the generic what you'll get a lot of people born in this life path, because again, you need to complete these in order to get to the master number level, right? Now, when you get to a master number level, there's 2 things that you can become to be a master, you do to be a master number. You're either born on the day. So obviously myself, born on the 11th. So when you're born on a master day, you're automatically a master number, right? Same thing when it goes to the 22, if you're born on the 22nd, right?
Yeah.
Or anything that equals up to a 22. So when you add up your numbers and it lands on an 11, you're a master 11. If you're born on the 11th, then you're a master 11. So see, it's either the day you're born or your numbers add up to it. The rarest and one of the hardest ones is life path 33 or master 33, because that is something you can't be born on. You can't be born on the 33rd day, right, in the month. But this is where it keeps it quite rare. And this is when they talk about where master 33s is kind of like your end level. It's the last level when you get to the end. And usually the 33s are the ones that they're the ones that kind of create a lot of impact, coaching, everything. You look at some famous 33s, Albert Einstein, 33, Mark Zuckerberg, 33. There's so many things that when they create something, it creates a kind of the rich dad, poor dad, entrepreneurs, these are 33. Things like this, they're kind of like the master teachers. Right?
You say when you get to 33, that's the final chapter, definitely the end. From your belief, and I don't know if this is just a personal thing or it's from numerology, what is after the end?
Well, obviously no one really knows, right? That's the $1 million question. Like, what is next, right? And obviously, numerology is something that will give you so much knowledge in this life, right? It will give you everything you need to know in this life. But the things that happen outside, it's a mystery, right? I personally believe that when you complete everything, then you don't come back. You go on to something else, whether it's another realm or you stay where you are spiritually. But the reason why we come back and the reason why we do everything we're doing is because we're learning lessons. Yeah. Everything reflects back to a lesson where you live a life, you do something, and then you reflect on it, and then you don't do it again. That's all it's about. So when you get to 33, that's kind of like the final stage.
Yes.
Once you've done that, you don't come back. That's what I personally believe in. But again, you can go through life and not complete a mission. I have seen many, many people who have, again, a path and they don't fulfill it.
Yeah.
But then what happens spiritually if you don't fulfill what you're meant to do? Because you could be born and don't do anything, right? You could just live a life, do what you need to do, don't do your actual purpose, what you're meant to be here for, right? Then you come back. And then what happens is, because again, reincarnations is a big belief in numerology. If your soul constantly comes back and does the same lesson and you can't actually complete the lesson, the soul then becomes a little bit bitter. It becomes a bit agitated. And this is why you see maybe some behaviors where people lash out, people become in that sense. Because spiritually, it's weighing heavy on them because it's like they keep coming back.
So if someone comes to you, Andre, and they're like, I feel like I'm stuck in a massive rut. I'm living out of alignment. We're going to go into, numerology in practice in a little bit more detail and what that can look like, because I just want to understand the fundamentals first. But while we're on this, can someone use numerology to get themselves back into alignment? Like, what would you do if someone came to you?
So first thing we do, I guess, say if you came to me and you're like, I'm out of alignment, I'm not sure what to do. First thing we look at is your date of birth and your numbers, right? And I would figure out who you are, right? So obviously, looking at your numbers and who you were. Then once you've discovered what you are, then you start looking into the categories of what you can be. Yeah. Because like I said, some paths can do some things and other paths can't. That's why when you look at, say, I said a life path 1, right? They're a leader. But if I try and put a 2 in there as I said, is the emotional one, how is it going to be a leader? So this is where I talk about the universe brings balance, and the universe never makes mistakes. But what I always say is that if you discover who you are, you can live the life that you're meant to. And when you actually live in alignment with what you're meant to do, everything starts to work out. So I always say to people, you know, when they come to me, okay, let's look at your number. This is who you are. Why are you doing this? Because everything always relates back to what you're doing, right? And there's a reason why you've come to me, because you're feeling a little bit, I don't know what to do. So what I do is I decipher everything of who you are, and I pretty much tell you who you are. And then from that point, that gives people a lot of confidence to do what they need to do. Like the amount of clients I've spoken to, right? And they come to me, I feel lost. And then say, when we spoke about the 3, right? I'm like, you're a life path 3. You should be out here posting content. You should be being a social media. You should be doing this, this, this. And a lot of the time, because obviously they're new and haven't started it yet, they're like, you know what? I wanted to do that. I've thought about it. And like you said, you see the patterns.
Let me ask you this, like when you're looking at someone's life path number, or they're getting into this and they're starting to get a little bit more of an understanding, what's like a common thing that people misunderstand about what their life path is actually telling them?
I think I think the misconception is a lot of people will look at it and go, well, you're told what to do. And as we spoke about this from the beginning, right? Well, the whole control. Exactly. And a lot of people ask, why do I do what I do? Right. And I said, from the moment you're born into this world, you're told what to do, right? You're always told you should go to uni, you should become this, be a sports star, you should do this and that. And then you kind of fulfill it because, again, you're being told what to do. And it's even funny when you reflect, it's like, oh, what bank do I go? Oh, I'll go with the same bank as, you know, my friends or family. So you don't really have a free will choice. You're kind of just following the path. And this is pretty dangerous because, like I said, if you don't know who you are, you're just kind of, it's like you're digging yourself a bigger hole, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I always say this to clients, imagine you come to me, right? And you go, oh, I don't know what to do. I'm kind of lost. I'm not sure, right? And I go, okay, we're looking at this. Okay, look, you should be an NBA star. You should go play basketball, right? And you go, great. And then you go try and play soccer. It's like, if you just went the basketball path, you will see things live in fulfillment. So when it comes down to the actual individual and who you are, everyone has a purpose. Everyone's meant to do something. Sometimes it may not be what you want to do, right? Where it's like, okay, I had a vision where I want to do this, but then I'm actually meant to do this. But I always say, if you live what you're meant to be doing, things are way easier.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, this is working now. So you know what I mean? So some people can do certain things and some people can't, but this is the balance, right?
If people reflected back on their lives, they would all be able to remember these moments where they felt like things were, they were in alignment. And when you're in alignment, things happen effortlessly and easily. When you're not in alignment, it's grueling work, right?
Hard, yeah.
It's forcing it. Now, obviously the life path is where we start. Now, when I had a conversation with you for the first time on that post of yours, so I'm a life path 9, so the humanitarian one. But then if you just look up, I'm born on the 31st, so that's a 4. What are the other numbers or the other factors that go into someone's numerology charts that impact them outside of the life path?
Yeah.
But so life path is probably the guiding one, the most important one that you look at?
Exactly, yeah. So I would say, for me personally, there's only 2 energies you need to worry about, right? Obviously, you've got all these other ones like your soul urge and things like that.
Yes.
And expression number. But essentially, what really matters to start off with are these 2 numbers. So it's your life path number.
Yep.
And I call this your main character energy. This is who you are in and out. This is like, again, your main character energy. Then your sub energy is just the day you were born. So when you said, you're born on that 4 day, right? And so I call this your sidekick energy. This is, again, it's not your core number, but you can literally take things from that number because it's part of you. It's like half of you, right? So when you look at that sub energy, a lot of people can then reflect on that number itself. So looking at 4, right? You're the hardest worker in the room. I know you probably work hard. You're very structured, everything like that.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, you should only really focus on those 2 numbers, because once you understand those 2 numbers, things are going to start making a lot of sense to you. You're going to be like, hey, life path, and this is who I am.
So what are those other ones? Because as I did more research, you hear all those buzzwords, expression number, personality number, soul urge, or heart's desire. What are some of those other things? Because I'm infinitely curious about understanding what they are. So let's start. So sub energy days is what we just spoke about, right? That's your
that's what I call it. And essentially, that's like your expression number. It's the same thing. So it's just, again, this is just me doing it. Exactly, yeah. Because a lot of people get a bit confused, and this is why I think with even my clients, when they come to me, I get it's a big overwhelming thing, right? But I try and make it really simple. But to answer your question, right? Like you said, your expression number, your soul urge number, it's the actual what it is in the title. So it's like you know your subconscious mind as a soul, right?
Yeah.
And you know deep down when you reflect on who you are, you have an urge to do something, whether it's to help people, whether it's to start a business. That's kind of what you're looking into, right? But then you look at things like your expression number, which again ties into this. It's more like how you express yourself. It's in the title, right? So it's like, I know somebody who has an expression number who would be a 6, right? 6 is the number of home and family. So when your expression number is 6, all you care about is family, how you express yourself as family. When you're, everyone come over to my house, everybody come here, everyone bring it here. So you are expressing who you are.
Yeah.
But like I said, essentially, like you can look into all that and that will give you a full profile of who you are. But when you start to get into this, because again, I tell people you get overwhelmed because there's a lot
A
of,
bit like that.
that's why I say, like, we could sit here and talk about all the numbers, right? But there are so many that we can go into. But that's why I say to simplify it, all you need is your life path, which is your main character energy, and your sub energy or expression number, which is you, again, how you express yourself, but it's your second energy.
So what is the soul's urge / heart design? What is that, a separate thing outside those?
Essentially, it's like another layer of numerology. So it's like, that's why I said, like, it's like, it really breaks down into a full profile. So when you do things like when you look into who you are, right, it will really break down who you are in sections. But I really believe that a lot of life path numbers, right, and like you got your main character energy and your sub energy, that's truly who you are, because these are your top 2 energies. That is who you are, right? Your soul urge and your heart's desire, again, may play into your goal and what you want to achieve in life, right? But that also ties back to your life path number. See, for example, like your soul's desire could be, it could be like a 6 or 7, but your life path 9 is what is your humanitarian energy, which flows back into it.
So where does the calculation for like your like soul's urge come from?
So your soul urge comes from your actual name. Comes from your actual name that you're given at birth. Yeah, that's what I mean. So this is when it comes down to naming things, right? And look, you can go into names and everything like that, which is good. But again, like I said, it just goes into layers. There's so many things. But how you figure it out is calculating the vowels in the name, right? So that's what I mean. So it's like when you look at things, when you have a name, like Dylan is your name, that equals to something. And that is what you are pushing out. You're projecting this out into the universe, right? So this is how deep it goes. But like I said, we could overwhelm, but that's why I said the 2 energies is all you need, because that's kind of going to start you off. And then as people get more into it, then we talk about that type of stuff. That's when you can play the game a bit better.
So I want to come back to personal years in a second.
Yeah, sure.
Talk about them, right? Because I'm having conversations with you, and this is really interesting for everyone listening as well. You give an example. You were talking to one of your clients, say, I'm going to launch a business on this day, and you're like, don't do that this year. Like, do that next year, or do that on this date instead. So there's like so many layers to it, which we'll come back to. But I just want to ask, let's talk about like some of the practical uses and applications of numerology. So someone wanted to come to you and like use numerology as a tool for self-awareness, right? They've done that. They understand their life path and other energy. How do you then start crafting with them a game plan to get the best out of themselves and achieve what they're really on this earth to achieve?
Well, like I said, when you go back to the 2 energies, that reveals a lot of who you are, right? And if we were to take, for example, a 7, right? Let's just take a 7 for this. A 7 as a life path number is, like I said, is a number of knowledge and wisdom. They are somebody who is very, very calculated, and also somebody who has a lot of knowledge when they apply it. Now, a lot of people say, oh, I'm a 7, but I'm not the smartest kid in my school or whatever it is, right? Or like I wasn't the smartest in class. But what I say as a 7, it's what you apply yourself to, right? It's nothing, you're not going to, you could be smart in everything, but when you focus on one thing, your superpower is that you're going to be the smartest in the room. You will go deep down. And anybody who's a 7, born on these days, the 7th, 16th, or the 25th, you can reflect on this. And I know that I'm saying this right now to you, but I know people listening, you're curious about life. You're curious about how the universe works and you want answers. And this is how it works with this. So when we look at the personality, okay, what can you do with this energy then? Who can you become? And a lot of 7s do really well in teaching, especially in spirituality or coaching, life coaching, because again, it's the knowledge they gain, right?
So with these life path numbers, can people use that to identify potentially natural strengths? And then, how, once you understand your strengths and your calling, working with that can help. But then on the flip side, can can we use numerology to look at potentially some of our weaknesses and do things to counteract that or improve those areas of our life? How does that work?
Of course. No. So I'll use myself as an example.
Yeah.
Because again, I think this is what that everyone wants to know, right? Yeah, I'm a Master 11 now. And like I said to you, Master 11s are the very spiritual ones. They're the ones that, again, can understand, feel things. Like I mentioned before, I've always felt emotions. I understand people. I feel the thing. But I always say with life paths, you always have a strong point and you always have a weak point. So there's always, because that's balance. That's how the universe works. There's no such thing as a, perfect sign, right? Everyone's got their ups and their downs. So if we're looking at a Master 11, for example, who I was or who I am, what you're looking at is we are the spiritual beings.
Yep.
But one thing that we have to get over is our emotions, our emotional control, right? Now, again, if you knew me when I was probably a bit younger, wasn't into this and I wasn't understanding it probably, I was a different person. I was somebody who, again, couldn't control the emotions. And anyone born on the 11 days or a Master 11 hearing this will actually be like, yep, I understand what he's getting at.
So what did you do outside of the understanding? What did you take that understanding and implement in your life that made you a better person?
So I started to practice spirituality a lot more, right? And obviously, the power of spirituality is in breath work. That's number one, right? The other thing is in manifestations and getting in tune with yourself, right? But the other thing as well that I recommend to all my clients, and I put this up on my Instagram story every single day, so everyone's aware. Every day has a universal energy. Every single day has one, right?
And we're all impacted by that.
We're all impacted by that, exactly. But I put it up on my story. So then again, anybody can read it. That's obviously very basic. I can go into so much detail, but that's enough for you to read and go, you know what? This is what the energy is right now. And I always encourage, apply it to your life, because what you're going to find if you play with the energy, things just start working. So that's what I started to do. I started to kind of like align myself with the universal days. Okay, I knew an 11 days coming up, that's an emotional day, right? So I've got to make sure that I'm calm. I don't react or I don't get emotional that day. Oh, it's a 4-day, it's a structured day. I'm going to plan and organize and maybe do things around the house, clean the house. Like you start living life by the numbers. And I always say, if you live life with the universe and by the numbers, you can't lose. It literally is in sync, right? The problem is everyone goes and does their own thing and don't live by the numbers. And that's when things happen, right?
I'm trying to think of the best way to sort of discuss this in a way that's relevant for everyone listening that has all these different life path numbers, right? So there's like the energy of each day and the numbers of each day. How does that sort of interact with your own personal numbers? So what are the personal numbers or the personal years that people should be aware of and in tune with as well when it comes down to making certain decisions or doing certain activities?
Of course. So number one, you got to look at the universal year, right? So I think we spoke about this off camera too, but every single year has a universal year. Like it's a energy, right? So right now we're in 2025. That's a universal 9 year. And how you figure that out, you just go 2 + 2 + 5 = 9, right? That is the number you end up with. And that is the universal year we're in right now. And you can do this again every year, but every year has a theme. This year's theme, and you would have been seeing it a lot with what's happening in the world. 9 in universal terms represents the ending of cycles and chapters, right? And it's the ending of the old self. It's like almost like a shift, right? And you see it when you're looking around, things are happening in the world. Celebrities are going down, getting exposed. There's people that are, that you're seeing just things come out of nowhere. It's like the truth is being exposed. And the reason why it's happening this year is because it's in sync with the 9, because you are letting go of the old self. This is all revealing, if that makes sense.
So with the universal years, me being a 9, is there any deeper impact when it's on the year that is your life path?
That's a good question. You're going to feel it the most. And
massive, like so much change, as going on in my
Yeah, that's what it is. And that's why I always say, when it is your year, you're going to be impacted the most. And this is why numerology can work, because then it's like, you know what? I'm a say life path 11. It's like 2027 is an 11 year. I know I'm going to be very impacted that year, right? But you can plan it. See, this is the power of knowledge, where you can go, you know what? It's coming up. So as a business, as an entrepreneur, whatever it is you're doing, how can I plan it? Because if I know that's my year coming up, how can I do it, right? And this is where you execute.
It's super interesting. I was chatting to Mel about this yesterday, like when I was like starting to prep for this podcast.
Yeah.
And we remembered back to this moment, like would have been right before we found out we were pregnant. And we just kept getting this like thought, this like urge within me. And it was like the message I was getting was kill the boy. Like I'm just like ready to just like completely, obviously, see, I got into business 7-8 years ago. I've, grown and matured so much through that, but there's still that bit of like the boy inside, that you want to kill. And then in the next few weeks, becoming a father, it's like that is really strongly manifested in my life. And I got that before I even thought about numerology. So really,
I always say the universe always likes to give you signs and it never makes mistakes. But the problem is, right, a lot of people don't pay attention to it.
yeah.
And and anyone who's obviously listening to this, you've seen angel numbers, right? There's times where you see 111, 333, 555. They all mean something. And that all relates back to numbers, right? But then when you go back to the universal year, like I said, you're going to feel it the most. But to talk about, say, what's happening in you, how you're shifting, you're in a personal year 5. And we talk about personal years every single year. Again, it's a universal year, which is the year that the whole universe has. And then you have a personal year, which is you and only you.
Yeah.
No one else is going to go through what you're going through because it's based on you. It's
5 is what again?
5 is a major change, major changes. So everything that's happening, I guess you could say, is here with fatherhood, like you just said, moving, doing things, like this is all part of it. And
I feel like I'm completely becoming a new person.
yeah, and this is what it is, major changes, because guess what? When you go to next year with the 6 energy, that's number of home and family, right?
So crazy.
That syncs up. And that's what I mean. When you play the game, when you understand it, it's hard to lose. And also you get rewarded, I always say.
I launched my first business 2018, which is 11.
Yeah.
That completely changed my whole life, crazily.
That's what I mean. 11's a very powerful number. It is. And you see it a lot. You see it a lot. You see it a lot. Like I said, you use it. People do things on certain days. That's why when I see businesses doing these things, it's like, it makes sense. And like I said, there's so many codes you can go into, but that's more on the business end of things. But 11 is a very powerful number.
And so we're going to get into the business stuff in a minute, but like, are there any, if you look at people's charts, are there any signs or patterns that emerge like right before someone has like a major breakthrough or like a big life pivot? Like, is there generally signs in their charts?
There usually is some signs, right? But how the universe works, especially in spirituality terms, it will not start it if you're not ready for it. So it does not make mistakes, right? If you're not ready for it, like you said, you were hearing things, right? But when you got that sign, something shifted, right? But it could have happened any other time. But look at the timing that it's leading into now. It only will do it when you are ready. But I always say when it comes down to understanding your personal years, right? You can really plan what every year means. If you're going into a personal year 1, there's going to be some new beginnings this year, right? There's going to be maybe a new career, a new job. Let's go to a personal year 3. This is when you're meant to be seen. This is when you're meant to be creating things. Going back to that 3 energy where you're the creative, right? So you can really plan a lot of who you are.
I think we started the podcast in a 3 year.
There you go. Well, I always say there's tips and tricks to it, right? And like I said, if you want to actually play the game, there's codes to this. Yeah.
As I was saying prior to we started recording, I'm very intuitive, right? And all these things, started the business on 11, family on this, podcast on that. Do you think, is there like a relationship, do you think, between intuition and numerology?
Yes, massively. Cool. I believe spirituality is spirituality, right? And that's why I said at the beginning, numerology is just another form of spirituality. It just depends on what resonates with you, right? Yeah. But personally for me, being a numerologist, I believe that numbers are the universal code and you see it everywhere, right? You can even relate this back to when people started a YouTube channel or when people did their first post or what house you grew up in. All these energies play a part in who you are. But this is the power of numerology, when you find out who you are, you reflect and you go, wow, everything actually lines up with who I am.
Yeah, wow.
And that's how powerful this stuff is.
So people, I always talk to people all the time. I do a lot of mentoring in the e-com space as well. And people always say, I want to do this, but their actions don't ever mirror that because they've got, self-sabotaging patterns or just things like that. Is there a way that you've seen people use numerology to help them break those patterns? Like, how are they interrelated?
Yeah, no, definitely. So like when we go back to that point where I said you're playing with the universe's energy, right? So like I said to you before, where it's like, oh, it's a 4-day, I'm going to organize and do things and actually do some work, or because 4 is a number of structure, order, and work. If it's a 5-day, I'm going to be a bit more free. I'm going to have a bit of fun. I always say for any couples who's going on dates, go on a 5-day, because that's the number of freedom. That's the number of expressing yourself, right? But to answer your question about how to end cycles, do it on 9 days. When you manifest and really come into tune with who you are, you can let go of old patterns very easily. With the right manifestation techniques and the right frequencies, you can let go of part of who you are on 9 days, because 9 is what it represents. It's the ending of cycles.
It's come up a couple of times, like manifestation. Law of attraction played a massive part in my life. Law of attraction, visualization, manifestation, whatever you want to call it, right? What is the interaction between manifestation and numerology, and how do you use your numerology to supercharge any manifestations that you have?
Well, when it comes down to numerology, right? Like I said to you, every life path has a certain personality in who you are. Every single life path has a way they should be manifesting. And this is what's really important.
Really?
Yeah, it is. And this is why A lot of people think manifestation is just one thing, right? It's just one, this is what I'm meant to do, sit here, breathe, say what I want, and then it's going to come. No, there are so many levels to this. And that's why like, I help every client who comes to me tailor to who you are, right? And it's tailored to who you are. So for example, if you being a 9, what I would probably say for you when you manifest is that you need to write everything down first. You need to journal it down. And it depends what type of manifestation you're wanting, right? Because, and you also forgot to mention, you also need to time the days. So 11 days, best for manifestations because 11 is a spiritual number. 7 days, good for manifestations too. If it's on a 9-day, you do it to release everything, right? To release the old patterns of who you are.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, if it's a 1-day, what's the new beginning that you want? But to answer your question, right, for every single life path has a way they should be manifesting. So as a 9, I would say you need to journal things down first. Once you journal things down first, then it comes down to visualization.
Yeah.
Visualization is really, really key for any manifestation. But if you don't do the actual steps for your life path, it will never come to fruition.
So
Yeah.
the journaling, the writing it down, what is that doing?
So what that's doing, it depends, again, what you're asking and what you're doing. But let's say, for example, that you're wanting to manifest things, right? Let's say you want to manifest a new business and new money. When you're writing things down, because the power of the 9 is also the number of wisdom, right? And also a number of humanitarian. When you write things down, especially in manifestation terms, it all comes down to intent and your intuition, right? So when you sit here and you're like, you know what? I'm going to write here, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to write, I want to build a big business and make $1 million, right? If you just write it with no intent and no belief, it won't happen. But as a 9, you have the ability with intent. But the one thing that I always say, and I actually want to say this, I'll say this on this podcast because I'm excited to do this with manifestation. One thing that I say to every client when it comes to manifestation, especially what you want, right? Visualization is so important. And if you can't visualize, like if you have issues with visualization, spirituality is like going to the gym. You need to practice. If you do not practice, if you don't go train, if you don't do anything, it's not going to work for you, right? It's the same thing, like the same concept. You got to keep going at it. But visualization is so key, especially when it comes to what you want. But you got to get to a level of visualization where you see it and you believe it in yourself because it starts with a thought, right? But I always say that thoughts are just thought until you give them emotion, right? And then it becomes something for you. But one really key thing when it comes down to manifestations, right? Let's say, I know it's a bad example, but let's say I want to manifest this, right? Now, obviously, let's say it's just a water bottle. I want to manifest this. Now, when I look at it and I'm holding it or I'm imagining it in my mind, most people would go, oh, I can see the water bottle. Yep, I see it. I've seen myself holding it. Cool. It's mine. It is done. Move on, right? But that's not actually won't do anything. How we are, because we are spiritual beings, we react on emotion. So what I say to everybody, when you are holding this, like back to this example, I'm looking at it going, you know what? I want this. Don't visualize, like you can visualize the physical form of what it is. But when you're in that visualization state, focus on the emotion.
Yeah.
How does it make you feel? When I look at this water bottle, and I'm holding it in my hand, I feel peace, I feel happy. And then you'll see when you start bringing emotions into it, you start reacting, you start feeling things, and that's manifestation. That's how it works.
Yeah. The emotion part for me and my experience with what visualization's done to me, it's so key. And getting super, super clear in the details. And like for me, like you made a good point, and I think this is something that maybe was just like a natural born gift of mine. Visualization for me, so easy.
As a 9, that's where you are. You're a humanitarian.
So easy. Like I can, like my visualizations could go on for a full hour and I'm living and experiencing every part of that moment, that whole day.
Yeah.
And when I visualize, and this is what I explain it to people, how does it feel? It feels like I'm time traveling.
Yeah, it does.
Because it's already, and then you go there and then like you come back and like you've got tears in your eyes and you feel it and you just know that's just the truth. That's already happened. You know?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. When you truly believe in something, it will happen. But if there is a slight doubt in your mind, any time, that's what kills it.
Yes.
That's what kills it straight away. Whenever someone goes, what if, right?
Yep.
What if it doesn't work? Or what if this? That automatically just dismisses everything you just did.
Yeah.
You have to literally be in that position where you walk around believing what you are.
Well, let me ask you this. Like, if I think about like levels, right? There's like, okay, I hope this happens, which is like hope wishy-washy. Then there's like, I think this will happen, slightly stronger. I believe this will happen. To me, believe is still, you're putting a little bit of faith into it. Like, I'm not too sure. For me, when I do my best visualizations or my best work, it's because I've got that grounded sense of knowing. And when you've got that feeling of knowing, and that's when your visualizations, your manifestations are 10x super powerful, how do people build that skill of getting that like true core knowing belief in this visualization that they've just had this thing they want to manifest?
First thing you got to do is you got to obviously work on what you say to yourself, because the throat chakra and what you do and what you project is so true, right? The power of the tongue is real. If you're walking around saying, I'm tired, I'm lazy, oh, I'm orders.
Stop doing that. I do it sometimes too. And it's such a bad habit.
But to answer that, right, you say it and then you feel it, right? Or you start to get into that state. So first things first, you got to fix how you talk to yourself. So you know how you just said then it will happen, or like, I think it will happen, it might happen. When you manifest, it will happen. That's what you need to tell yourself.
It will. Yeah.
It will happen.
Yes.
And if you find yourself slipping out of it, because I understand it's life, right? You're like, oh, maybe it will happen. Tell yourself it will happen. And if you continuously do this, your subconscious mind is going, again, there's so many studies shown that the brain doesn't actually know the difference between when you manifest and you imagine versus what physical reality is. So if you sit here and like, again, I am this person.
Yeah.
It will happen. I am going to do this.
There's this Albert Einstein quote that I'm probably going to butcher that I love because it's Einstein. It's something to the effect of everything is energy and that all there is to it. If you like mirror the energy of what you want or like something like that, like there is no way other than for you to get that. This isn't philosophy. This is physics. Now I've butchered the middle part, but like
I get where you get
the message is there. And it's like, if that's Albert Einstein, one of the smartest people in the world, and you can say smartest, but I think people like Einstein, I don't necessarily think they're the smartest they are. I think they're channeling this from something.
They figured it out. Exactly. They figured out the game.
Even, have you heard, who was it? Was it that song, Michael Jackson? There's a video of Michael Jackson, and he got up in the middle of the night and the song Thriller, or Beat It, one of these two like biggest songs came to him.
Yeah.
And he called like his producer or the person at the studio in the middle of like 3 a.m. He's like, oh man, I've got this song. I need to record it right now. And like his agent or the manager, it was like, it's like, 3:30 in the morning. Can this wait till tomorrow? He goes, no, if I don't record this now, Prince will record it for me.
That's spiritual downloads. That happens.
Where does that come? I completely believe in that. I don't know what part of spirituality it's from, but it's clear that we all channel things. And some people have unique gifts like art, drawing. I can't, you could put me through a year of art class. I will, versus someone that's never taken an art class and has it naturally, I won't be anywhere half as good as them.
Yeah.
With some people with music. Like I saw this video yesterday of Justin Bieber, never done any classical training. And he's like, breaks down like this symphony. He'll just do these noises with his sounds and he creates this whole sympathy with everyone. It's like, how can you just do that? He hasn't been taught that. He just has that gift. So where does this sort of stuff come? Yes.
Comes with numbers. That's what I mean. So even just you then, right? We all like, you put me next to someone who's an art, we do art class, right? If you came to me and go, I want to do art. And let's say I put you and then someone else who's a 3 that came in, I'm going to look at you and go, you're not going to beat it straight off the bat because he's a 3. He's creative, right? He's always going to outshine you. But then again, you have talents and traits that he doesn't possess.
Yeah.
And it's vice versa, right?
Yeah.
Because this is what I mean. You play to your strengths. You play to who you are. Obviously, you have free will and you can chase anything that you want. I always say you can become whatever you want. If there is enough belief, you can become whatever you want to become.
That's the thing.
Right?
There's enough belief.
There is enough belief there, of course.
And I think when we go back to like the manifestation and that point that you said that belief is so important, I get it, right? I think one of my superpowers, one of my natural gifts, I also think it's from the way I was raised, really reinforced this with me, is my like knowing is my self-belief. I've always had a lot of self-belief and high self-worth. Mm-hmm. But even me, I remember before I got into business, I was acting.
Oh, wow.
Because I tried uni and I was going to be a lawyer, hated it, realized I don't care about, doing what's the smart thing or the sensible job. I just want to create a life that's going to be fulfilling and fun. What's a fun goal to achieve?
Yeah.
I remember doing that. I'm someone that had a lot of belief. And even me, it's like, you go to these auditions, I got really close to like these big movie roles and whatnot.
Yeah.
And even me then had that little voice of doubt saying like, who are you for your dreams to come true? And then I found a better vehicle for me, which was business. And it's like, once you start having smaller dreams come true, and then you realize something that you've had the evidence and experience of visualizing, putting the work in, and then it happens. And then you do that a couple of times on like small and medium things, and then it happens on a big thing, and you realize, holy shit, I can do anything. Yep. Like when really successful people say the limit only exists inside your mind, that is so accurate. The game is getting your head to the point where that doesn't become the obstacle.
Literally. And I always say to people as well, who you hang around with, your network is your net worth. That's a very famous saying in business, right? And that is true when it comes to spirituality and energy, because if you have these dreams, if you have these desires that you want to become something,
Yeah.
and you have someone, whether it's family or whether it's friends, if they're like, you can't do that, as if you could do that, that's not who you are, that immediately diminishes, right? And that's why I say to people, you don't listen to other people's opinions, because your numbers will reveal. So even just like you said you were acting,
Yeah.
then you came into business. That's the 4 energy, because of business, structure, and order. Combine that with the 9 energy and what you do to help people. You have the goal that you want to help people.
Yeah.
I always say if you work with a 9, they want the best interest in you, because again, they were trying to help you.
Yeah.
But this is when you look at other business people and it's like, oh, they don't have 9 energy. This is when, they see what I mean? Questions can come up. But that's why I said you play to your strengths, you can't lose. It's something that will always.
Let me get like a specific example if you're okay to share this. Now, when we said when we were chatting on the phone earlier, and you said you strategically planned when you launched on social media, right?
Yeah.
What were you looking for? Like, give us a specific example of what you were looking for and why you chose certain dates.
As in, like, how do I build my
Like,
content?
because you said like I waited to specific dates to go online.
Yeah.
What was like the little thing that you based that around, so people can start to understand? Okay, that's the way that you can use numerology to help you out.
Sure, of course. Obviously, there's many numbers I can reveal on this podcast, right? But one thing I will say is that when you look at wealth and everything, 28 is the number of wealth, right? 28 is the number of wealth. So that's why you see a lot of people who are in positions of power, very rich people. Elon Musk born on the 28th, Bill Gates born on the 28th. These individuals are very powerful figures, and that's the number of wealth, right? But if you take that same energy and you apply it even to your life, I always say, if you want to start something, that's a really good day to put it on. Obviously, you can relate it back to your business. But to answer your question, right? I will say this on here just because obviously, this is great. But how I did it with me, I'm an 11, like I said.
Yeah.
I always say if you want to start something, if you want something to build very quickly, 28 or anything that relates to money is great, because that's what's the energy you're imprinting with it. And let's go back. If I started like last year, 28th, 11th month is when I launched this. Now, when you think about
So you got two big numbers right there.
well, for example, I am an 11. So if I use my own energy in the combination with that number, see what I mean? When you start playing the game,
Yeah.
you win, and you start actually attracting these things. And that's why I said everyone has a certain way they can attract wealth, abundance, and anything they want. But the problem is that they just don't know. And this is what numbers will reveal to you. It will reveal to you who you are, what you're meant to be doing, and what you should be doing, literally.
Because that's the crazy thing. I think we spoke about this before we started recording. So everything around us, it's all code.
All code.
Us, the air we breathe, the tables, the cameras, Wi-Fi, everything is code.
Yeah, and
Ones and zeros.
literally.
How is the whole planet made up of that?
Because again, it's the world that we live in. I personally believe that we are in a video game or a simulation. You could say.
Interesting, right?
And the more that you look into it, again, it's hard to, once you know the patterns, it's hard to unsee it, because you're like, you know what? This is true, right? But I always say to this, if you know that we're in a simulation, we're in a game, right? And I say this to every client. I'm going to say this on this podcast too. If you play the game with the universe, if you play the game, you get rewarded.
You have to play the game.
But if you don't play the game, right? If you don't want to play the game, you'll just be like where you are. You'll flow through life. But that's a free will choice you're making, because God or the universe gave us free will. So again, it's a choice you are making. But I know there's people listening to this that know that they're meant for something more. And if you feel that, I encourage you to look into your numbers, because I guarantee you will discover a lot about who you are from a point where I know what I need to do next. Because a lot of life confuses you. But when you look at who you are on a profile, it's hard to, because, oh, that is me. Oh, I do act this way. Oh, these are my strengths. This is what I should be doing. And then you use that information.
As a numerologist and like believing, it's only a theory, but in simulation theory, I think Elon Musk is that's his overwhelming belief in the reality of our environment. Like you think about evolution, right? We're taught evolution, humans, developed, and then it started. There was like single cell organisms and sea and all this stuff. And it's like, or you're saying everything started at one cell, and then like, it's like, I used to like believe it. And I'm not saying evolution didn't exist and like, survival of the fittest and blah, blah, blah. Like I'm sure in a way, but it's like, there's that belief, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like the belief in the Big Bang, when you say, oh, all the energy in the world and your world was like in the size of a pin and then exploded, was like, that doesn't explain how things started. How was all the energy even existing to be in one place the size of a pinhead before it exploded?
Exactly.
Doesn't, and then it's like, it's just, mysteries of the universe is unlimited, right?
It doesn't make sense. And that's
It doesn't make sense.
When you look into who you are, you start to realize that, again, there's patterns. And this is when it comes back to simulation, right? And we are in a simulation. So I always say to people, when you discover you're in it, why don't you play the game? There's numbers to this codes, right? It's like, you know how when, I know it's a bit weird to say, but you know how when you play a video game, right? Let's took the video game theory, right? When you play a video game, every video game that you buy, you play on your console, whatever, there's always codes you can put in to receive something, to receive, money, cheat codes, I guess you could say.
This ETA back in the day, remember that? Yep. Like down, right, up, left, turn, right, up, whatever that.
But if you take the same thing, right? Numbers, you put the codes to your life. It's the same thing. That's what I mean. This is why people do things on certain days. It's why if you want to make money, launch on an 8 day. If you want to, be creative and get views and get social media, 3 energy is the big one. If you want to promote freedom in life and everything that you want to do the 5 energy. Same thing with codes. That's what I mean. Like, it's the same thing where you go on a video game. Hey, I want to attract this. Think of that as manifestation. I want to attract this. It appears. And that's how it works. So when you discover the game, like I said, you play the game, you get rewarded. But if you don't play the game, you'll just flow through life. That's a free will choice. Yeah.
So it just blows your mind, this stuff. And like, look, there'll be people that are still listening. We're almost an hour in. Like the people, like there would have been some people, I don't think too many from our listeners would have got 10 minutes in and be like, this isn't for me.
Yeah, of course.
In which, go ahead, live your life like that. You're already not listening anyway, so it doesn't matter. But for me, I approach everything with a really open mind.
Of course.
Even like and again, this isn't what they teach in the Bible or anything like that, but I'm someone that doesn't necessarily think that evolution or whatever and like God and simulation theory, I don't think they're mutually exclusive. I think there could be a God that created, but I just think, I don't know.
Yeah.
But the world is like so full of like infinite mysteries, and I just find it really like interesting to delve into. But more specifically, how can we use this to play the game, right, and get the best out of ourselves? So getting onto some business stuff.
Sure.
Using our life path number or like our expression number, is there ways to figure out like a good business model, a good business industry for certain types of people? Is there any clues that we can get from our numerology to see what we might be good at or
for sure, no,
we should be in?
So like I said, like the numbers reveal everything on who you are, right? So let's say, for example, right, I got a life path 1. Let's say a client was in front of me and they go, look, I'm a life path 1. And I look at the numbers, I go, okay, you're a 1, you've got the leadership trait, this is who you are. So automatically there's a bunch of careers that fall into that, right? And like I said at the beginning, it's entrepreneurship, it's creating your own business, but it's more, like I just said then, it's creating what is your own. That's the key part. You can create whatever it is, but you got to do that whole path.
Yeah.
So if you don't create the path, you're not going to play the game, you're not going to get rewarded. And every single path has a certain thing. If it was a life path 5, I would encourage you to travel, encourage you to get out. I'd encourage you to explore the world because that's what you're meant to do. If you're an 11 like myself, I would strongly encourage you to look into spirituality and look into energy work and look at light work and look at why, because you're going to relate to it more. So every person relates to something. Like I said, you could be an entrepreneur, you can be a lawyer, you can be an accountant. All these things fall into categories. So that's why I was saying, if you know your number, with studying and understand what it vibrates, you can really plan out who you're going to be.
So let me ask you this, like people that have that understanding, how could an entrepreneur align their long-term business vision with like their personal life path?
Sure.
Is that a good example of like, this is someone that had this and they did this and it blossomed? Well,
the first thing I'd look at first before that is, are you meant to be an entrepreneur? That's number one thing, right? And this is where balance in the universe comes from, because not everyone's meant to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, we'd all be doing the same thing. Like I said to you at the beginning of the episode, I didn't think I'd be a numerologist, right? But it was my calling. I went through everything. I went through the spiritual test. I literally had my visions and I was meant to do this. And this is why I always say to every client, if you're meant to do what you're meant to do, it just works. And that's why when you look at, say, even my growth and what's happened, it's because it's what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
And you feel that inside your soul. You know when you're doing this. You're helping people. You're guiding people. It's the same thing. So when you discover your numbers, right? This reveals everything about you. And I encourage everyone listening to this, go look up what your life path number is, and you're going to get a real good direction on what you need to be doing in life. If you're feeling lost, right? If you're feeling lost and uncertain on what to do, go look it up, because that's what I did when I started, right? I saw that thing where it said at 11. I was like, okay, spiritual, but I feel things. I looked more into it, and that gave me everything I needed to know. And then the rest is history. And then everything just worked out because it's meant to do what you're meant to do.
I just love this stuff, man.
Yeah.
Super, but it's like, it's almost hard to have like a podcast about this stuff because I really want to stop and think deeply about what you're saying is error. So me being a 9, right? I don't want to just use me as an example. Like, we'll try and mix it up.
Sure.
But for me, I feel like, I thought everyone, like if I've got a really close relationship with old people.
Yeah.
I live with my mum, my mum and my grandparents till I was 5. Then I moved into a retirement village. I spent heaps of time there. I worked in the retirement village. So I'm really, really close with elderly people. And I think there's something in that for me in terms of like the whole humanitarian thing. For me, if I just go and I help an old person at the shops or do this little thing and I have a little chat and they love it, that makes me feel better than any amount of money I make. Is that linked to the humanitarian thing?
Yeah, exactly.
So how
things
would
where I
then for someone in a position like mine that's in business, and the reason I love business is because it's the vehicle to unlock everything you want. If you're a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if you want to really do any of them things, well, you need money and freedom to be able to actually live in alignment with your purpose.
Of course.
How could someone like me that's in business use that as a platform to get in alignment with like the humanitarianism for an example?
So if you wanted to start a business, right, we know your energies are 9. So the first thing, you know that you're the humanitarian. You know that you got to give back. You got to help people. So I say to a lot of life path 9s that come to me who are lost, right, and they're like, I don't know what to do. You do really well in things where it could even be the medical field. It could be like mentorship. It could be things where it's even life coaching and psychology, things that, because again, you have the wisdom, and 9 is also the number of wisdom. So you look at it and you're like, wow, what's going on here, right? And you're like, okay, the information you have in your soul is already there. And I always talk about how you need to unlock it. That's why my business is called Numerology Unlocked, because I help you unlock your potential in who you are. And that's what I mean, like it opens it up. So to answer your question, right, what I do, I would look at the humanitarian field, because again, you're playing into your strengths. I wouldn't, if you came to me and go, I want to be in business, I wouldn't say, okay, go be a lawyer or go try and do something else. I would say you need to stick to this theme.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way the universe is going to open the doors for you.
You mentioned where you'd start is, first of all, saying, should you even be an entrepreneur, right? Because again, last 5 years, it's sort of the in vogue cool thing to do, right?
Yeah, everybody wants that, right?
Everyone wants it until they realize what it entails.
Yeah, of course.
Are there any life paths that are more suited and less suited to entrepreneurship?
Yes, there are. If you want, I can reveal it, but I don't know if you
know.
Okay. So the people who would do really well in entrepreneurship, life path 1s,
Yep.
life path 4s, life path 8s.
What's 4 again?
4 is the number of structure and order. So again, looking at what your sub energy is, right? How you have that business mindset, structure, that would work in business and in entrepreneurship, because then you got to have structure. Because as anyone knows, if you're an entrepreneur, you got to have structure, or what happens, it just goes everywhere, right? So a 4 does really well, and 8, because 8 is that leadership, that trait. And that's what I mean, because you've got that sub energy is 4, but you've got the 9, you can combine the two. This is why I talk about it's not just one energy. It's not who you are. You got both energies. But like, again, then you can apply it. If someone says to me, I want to be a content creator, or I want to be this, only if you're a life path 3 or a 5, I would say, or an 11 is probably your only one.
Yeah.
Because 11's got the charisma, and again, sitting across from you, I can talk to you. And then 3s have that creative mind, and 5 have the fun. They have the freedom, the creators, right? So
let me ask you a different question about business.
Okay.
So if people want to identify and they're looking at their personal years, or if there's any other, specific periods through the year, like, is there any signs or is there any dates that really represent like the equivalent of like a scale up year? Like a year that this is your year, make your money, build your business, invest your money. What are the signs or periods for that?
So first one is personal years, right? Or we talk about. So when you're in a personal year cycle, the number one, like if you're trying to make money, your personal year 8 is going to be when you do it. Okay. But I always say, just because that doesn't come with hard work. You got to work towards it. And this is why I talk about numerology being a tool that you can use. Because if you understand, say in the next 2 years, right, for you, if you're like, I know my 8 years coming up in 2 years, right?
So I'm in a 6, did we say?
You're in a 5 year.
I'm in 5. Okay, next
You're in a 5 year.
She's the 6, yeah.
Actually, she's the 6, and that's all family orientated, home, life. That's changed, because the 5 is changed now. Is what you're right. Say, when you're in an 8 year, I always say, obviously going a year before that, the 7 year is when you are meant to gain knowledge. It's when you're meant to go start something new. So after your reset, right? Like say if you do the 6 next year and you're doing a family orientated everything, 7 will then you're going to start pick up something new, maybe something you want to do. And I always say, if you know you're in a personal 7 year, you need to study, knowledge. Like I said at the beginning, right? 7s are not like knowledge. That's the number. You play the game, see? And then when you go to 8 is the number of money. So if you know it's planning, you can literally go, okay.
You can plan the next 4 or 5 years of your life.
That's what it's about. That's what I mean. That's why when I did this with me, it's planned. And every other client that comes to me that starts something new, they're like, how did I gain all these followers? How did I get all these views? How did I get all this engagement? It's because you are playing the game. That's what I mean.
Another question I actually got from someone I'm mentoring, and that's worked for you. And I think it's a really interesting question. I'd love to know if there's any. insight you can share on that. The question is like, can numerology reveal any of the deeper reasons behind burnout? Or,
Okay.
you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Like difficult periods, chaotic periods in your life. Like what does numerology say about that?
So it comes down again to your life path number. So everyone has an up and down, like I said before, right? So everyone's got an up and down, but if it's referring to a burnout and work, it's always a life path 4. That's number 1, because a life path 4 is somebody who will always work, always overwork, and really try and do everything that they can, and then they burn themselves out.
The person that asked me that was a life path 4.
There you go. That's what I mean. So the fact that, again, codes, knowledge, that's all it is. And that's what I mean. We're not out here going, hey, don't let me just hear things. No, I was telling you, right?
And then if you want to post content, a 3 day.
That's on a 3-day. Or if you have 3 energy, you can be a content creator. That's why I'm not saying you have to be, but I'm saying it's a skill you possess in your energy.
You mentioned something before that I wanted to ask about, odd and even numbers. What are the energy that comes with odd and even numbers?
Yeah, so the only time that I use odd and even numbers, right, is when it comes to compatibility. That's the number 1 thing, right? Obviously, you know, every number has a vibrational energy, but when it comes to compatibility, there's only 12 signs. Like I said, there's 12 life paths, so it's an even, yin and yang, 6 and 6, right?
Yeah.
So I have this rule that I tell everybody, like everyone who's in the dating world, or anybody who wants to meet new people, whether it's friends or date, whatever it is. If you know that you are, say, a life path 5, right, which is an odd number, you don't go well with even numbers. And that's a very good thing to know, because again, odds and evens don't get along, because again, you are opposite energies. And this is when I talk about how compatibility and what you do, sometimes you can be with the same energy, but again, it comes down to really more stuff, right? But odds and evens don't get along. All right. And that's why when you use this theory, right, when it comes to, if you're building a business, right, if you know you're a content creator, right, and you know you're a 3, you're not going to go and hire, say, someone who's a 6, or you're not going to go hire someone who's an 8, because that doesn't go with your energy, right? That's what it works when it comes to that.
Yes.
Because again, it's compatibilities, right? But then it works the other way. If you're an even number, stick with your evens, because again, you're already on the same frequency when it comes to that same energy. When there's opposites, obviously they say opposites attract, but there are certain signs that do not go well together. And again, like the general rule I have, if you're dating, you're starting a business, or you want to bring in a partner, got to make sure that they are usually not the opposite.
Yes.
Want it to be the same energy and the same everything you're doing.
So when we look at like building a team out and hiring, so you could really clearly use numerology to do that. So when you're hiring people, what's an example of like, if you wanted a content creator, you'd hire someone potentially with 3.
3 energy.
If you wanted like an operations person to run all that, that would be a 4, because they're like the structure.
You go. So that's what the amount of clients that come to me, right, who are starting businesses or even just hiring employees, and they go, hey, Andre, this is my final list of interviewees.
Yeah.
And I want to put this person here. I'm not too sure, but I want to put them here, and I want to put this person here. What do you think? And this, again, numbers reveal everything. I'll be like, okay, you shouldn't put this person here because that's not their strength. Yeah. This person though, that's more their strength. So if I was you, I'd put them here and put that there. And then they follow the actual recipe and it all works out.
How about when it comes to letting people go and having to fire people? Is there any indications or data that you can get from numerology?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, there are so many things that you can do. That's what I mean. The number reveals you. For example, I won't say it on here, right? But knowing your numbers, you also know how to get to people. You know how to remove people's power. You know how to make them feel in that, if you're trying to say steer them away or do things, there's ups and downs to everybody, right? Yeah. So you can play on those strengths. That's what I mean. It reveals everything.
I want to talk about a little bit of a continuation from business, finance, right?
Okay.
We're in August currently. This will either come out late August or September sometime.
Sure.
But the Lionsgate portal just shut. I saw a lot of content around that. What was the Lionsgate portal and why was it so powerful for like money manifestation?
Sure, yeah, because obviously there's a few things, right? But Lionsgate portal was a period that takes place from the 28th of July. Again, 28th is a number of wealth. Oh, look at that, relating back to numbers, right? It starts there and it ends on the 12th, right?
Yeah. Which
is the creation day, 1 + 2 is 3. But again, you have a 2-week period. And the reason why it's so important is because if we're looking at astrology terms, we're entering the Leo season. And Leo was all about that confidence, that drive, that I'm the top person. I'm abundant, I'm fine, everything, right?
Yeah.
But then if we tie back to numerology, 8's the number of money. So if you tie that into August as well, that's the 8th month. Everything lines up for that. But to answer your question, why is it so important?
Yeah.
It's just because of the energies that's in the universe at that time. And the timing of, again, looking at the astrology and the planets and looking at the numbers in the August month, you have a potent energy that comes into the universal. Remember, I talked to you about universal days and everything, but we're in a period right now where you can manifest abundance. You can manifest wealth. And I always say, like I said, you can manifest things. You can manifest things all the way, but there are certain ways you need to be manifesting it. But you're at a period right now where even if you're not making money, like I say to all new clients, if you can't, oh, I missed the portal, I can't do this. This is the month right now where you can plant the seeds, because think about it, you're planting it in an 8 month, right?
Yeah.
Number of money. Okay, I'm going to start setting things up. Obviously, all my clients leading up to this had everything planned.
Yeah.
So right now I'm getting messages being like, I've scaled this, I'm making so much money, I've made sales, I've done all this stuff, right? But the new people, they're like, I missed it. No, this is the time where you can really plant your seeds, right? And go, okay, I've started this and I'm going to start it on this day. You could even start it on the 28th of August, right? 28 and 8. So when you look at that, there's so many combinations you can do. But to answer your question, this is just the period of money, everything. And next month, going into 9, it's going to be a reflection month, because you just went through a whole month of money making, right? And this is, again, you play the game, you get rewarded. This is how, so 7 month, okay, 7 month knowledge, quiet. 8 month, everyone's making money. 9 month, reflect. What just happened? How can I end some things? Again, 9's ending of cycles.
Yep.
Then we go to the 10th month. Oh, what's that? It's new beginnings, because 1, 0, you just count the 1. You play the game per month, and you can do that too. But like I said, this goes really deep.
Yeah.
I could sit here for you and talk about hours and hours, but we're just in a period right now where the planets are aligned, the stars are aligned, the universe is listening right now. And this is why I'm saying using frequencies, using manifestations, knowing how to activate your manifestation, I guess you could say talent, with your life path number. This is the time to manifest. This is the time right now.
So what are some other key periods throughout the year? Doesn't just have to be, money manifestation. Like, are there other key periods or like portals or months that are really good for certain, like health or relationships? Like, what should people, because they might hear this, say this might come out first week of September and like, oh damn, I missed it.
Yeah.
They can, when they start looking at how to use numerology over the year and see what they can do when they implement into this in their lives, what are some other key, periods throughout the year that you think can be really strong for manifesting different types of things?
The 11th month, because when we talk about 11 is the most powerful number, I believe in numerology, November. And so this is when you can really reflect on mostly the whole year, right?
Yeah.
But this is also when your manifestation is at an all-time high, because again, spirituality terms, 11's the most spiritual number. So I always say to clients, right? Because then you go to the end of the year, right? What are you reflecting on?
Yeah.
What are your plans for next year? Because then when you go into the 12th month, that's a 3 energy, you're creating what's coming next, right? And then you start again at 1, because again, it only goes up to 3 in this 12-month thing. Then you start creating what you're going to do, and then you go to January, and then you start from new beginnings. So you can play the game, like I said, just using numbers that way. But that's very, very generic.
Yeah.
Everybody has a certain way. And that's what I mean. Just because I'm saying, oh, it's a 9 month, everyone's got to do it. Your dates might be different. And that's what I mean. When you do a full read on somebody, when you understand the numbers, I could look at you and go, don't do it this month, do it in December. Because again, it works with your energy more.
Yeah.
And then you play the game, it works, right? So it's very interesting.
We got the 11th month, November is a very big manifesting period.
Yeah.
When you talk about, I know it's really difficult
Mhm.
because everyone's going to have their own manifesting style,
Of course.
but as a generalization, I'm not sure if generalizations work in numerology or it's got to be something specific.
Yeah.
Like, is there any tips on manifesting wealth that you can share for people that they can do regardless of the month?
For sure. No, definitely. No, I was thinking about this because obviously I want to give everyone a good thing that they can start from today. Right. So there's a few things you can manifest wealth. I call this, you got to carry the highest form of currency. Now I'm going to talk about this, right? No. And so I say this to all people all new clients that come to me, right? And they're like, I want to manifest wealth. How do I start money? How do I start bringing it in? How does this work, right? So there's 2 things that you should be doing, right? But the first one is wherever you are in the world, wherever you're living, it does matter where you live, right? I want you to go to your bank and get the highest form of currency you have, right? So us being in Australia, $100 is the biggest one. When I have clients over in Berlin, they're like 500 euros, American, the same $100 USD. But you have to go and get the highest form of currency. When you get it, right, you're holding energy because money is an energy. And anybody that tells you money isn't an energy, they just haven't realized that yet because they think you need to work hard for the money. But all these people who work hard, all these people who have made it will tell you the opposite. They'll literally be like, no, it is easy because it is an energy. You just got to attract it. So this is when it comes down to you can do certain things. So this is what I give a lot to new clients, right? So I want you to go get the $100 bill. I want you to get it out from the bank, do whatever it is you need to do. Once you have the highest form of currency, when you wake up in the morning, right? I want you to get dressed, do what you need to do, and then I want you to put that $100 bill on the right side of your pocket, and on the right side of your body in your pocket. And the reason why is because in spirituality terms, the right side is your projection side, right? It's what you project out into the universe. This is also when it comes down to crystals, things that you wear, things that you attract, right? So your right hand side is your projection side. Then what I want you to do, right, once you have this $100 bill, as you're going about your day, I want you to look around, like whatever it is you're doing. But I want you to imagine at certain points that $100 bill you have is all that you have to you right now. That's all that you have. None of the bank cards you have, none of the online banking accounts, you just have this money, right? And as you walk around, I want you to look at things that you desire, things that you actually, want or need in a way. But I want you to play this game subconsciously with your mind where you go, you know what? I could get, for example, I could get a new water bottle, but I won't. I could get a new pair of shoes, but I won't. And the reason why you're doing this here, it's two things you're doing that subconsciously why you're doing this. First, you're telling the universe, or God, whatever you prefer, but you're telling the universe that you are holding the highest form of currency and you're respecting it. You are respecting the money. You're not spending it on, things that are not valued in any way. You're literally telling it, I could do it, but I won't, right? Yeah. That's number one. And then number two as well, when you're looking at the whole, I guess you could say the whole carrying and the energy, right? You also want to tell yourself as well when you start attracting abundance. This is why I kind of want to go into this point too. I'll come back to this point one, but I kind of want to talk about how abundance works first, because I know this is kind of shifting it, but you're going to understand the game better. Yeah. And then I'll go back to this projection side. So I think will be a better way people can understand it. So how abundance works, right? A lot of people go, oh, abundance is what I make. Abundance is what I earn. It's not. Whatever you earn in your business, whatever you earn as a job does not count. That's not abundance, because that's time and money and energy you're trading for that. Abundance is when you get things and a lot of people think abundance is just money. It isn't. You can get abundance in friendship, abundance in love, but a lot of people will tie back to money, right? So in this case, we'll just say abundance is money so people can understand it. But when you tie it back to abundance, right? Abundance in money is when you receive things that you were not used to. And it could be from things like, I've sold something, I put something up and I sold it. That money that you got, you would have never got from your usual cycle because again, you're not used to it, right? So then what happens is, again, you're looking at it going, okay, I just got the abundance. I always like to tell this story because then people understand how the game works, right? So I'll start from it. Let's say that I just, I'm working a job and I earn $1,000 a week. That's what I earn, right? At natural, whatever the wage is, that's what I get. Every week I go buy 1,000, pay rent, do what I need to do, everything like that. Now, a lot of people think $1,000 is abundance. It's not, because again, it's time and money you're trading in. But then let's say one day after work, me and my coworkers like, hey, let's go to the bar, let's go do this, let's have after work drinks, whatever it is, right? And then you go, okay, cool. And then you go in and let's go, hey, let's go to the pokies. Let's put some money in. You put some money in and then you win some money. That right there is abundance. And a lot of people go, oh, but isn't it bad where it came from? The universe has unlimited abundance. It doesn't matter where it comes from, but what it's going to do, it's going to look at what you do with that money, right? So let's go back to that example. I put some money in the pokies, right? Let's say I won $1,000. What do you think the human nature response is going to be? Right? Like when I win an extra K, what do you think people are going to do? Right? Yeah. And right there, if I talk about playing the game, you just failed it, because how it works is, like I said, it's watching what you do, right? Now, again, let's say in this example, I won the 1,000. I went and I go, hey guys, I just won $1,000. Let's go. We're having a big night tonight, right? Yeah. And I enjoy my night, right? What happens then? Because you're playing the game, but you failed the test. What the universe is going to do at that exact point, and you can probably reflect on this too, but again, when you put the pieces together, it's all going to make sense. But the universe will go, okay, Andre gave him $1,000 and he didn't use it right. He went and just had a good night. Then what it will do, it will create a future scenario where it's going to be financially straining, whether it's an unexpected bill, a fine, whatever comes in the, whatever. Yeah. And it's usually going to be around the same amount that you just had before, right? Yeah. And when you reflect, the lesson there is you doing this. If only I had the $1,000, I could have paid this off. And that is the lesson right there. But then again, you failed the game. Now let's rewind that. Let's go back to, I just won the $1,000 again. What do I do, right? First things first, gratitude. Always gratitude is a
How
frequency.
important is gratitude? It's like to understand it in theory is really easy, but to really in practice get it in your bones.
Yeah.
Once you do that, then it shifts these.
Gratitude's a frequency. And I always say, if you want more, you got to be grateful for what you have, because the universe will never reward you if you're not, grateful for what you have already. It's just going to stop blessing you.
Let me ask you this.
Uh,
Similar to the visualization believing thing.
Yeah.
Because let's just say I could wake up every day and I could say, say 3 things I'm grateful for. How do you get it from words to true gratitude?
to true, like, to get you in that state of gratitude.
That you are actually properly grateful for it, not just words or affirmations.
Not just you talking like,
I am
I'm so
grateful for this because everyone does that. But I'm like, for me, if I do that, that doesn't do anything. It's
like, how do you enhance the experience?
Like sometimes I'll really think about things I'm grateful for and you feel it. And just like when you feel your visualizations, it's so much more powerful.
Yeah.
You need to truly mean and feel the gratitude.
Yeah.
How do you get that in your body?
Without just saying the words? Well, there's many things you can do. So the first one is grounding. Grounding's a really big practice that I tell people to do, because grounding is something that is real, right? And anyone that tells you grounding is not real, I can't even tell you what I probably think about, right? But there's actually, I encourage everyone to actually look this up. There's a video on TikTok, right? Just look up grounding, right? Like, I think it was daughter grounding, maybe. I think what the search tab is. But there is a video online where it shows a father with his little daughter, right? And he's holding the, like I don't know the name off the top of my head, but it's like the electric reader, when you hold the odometer reader, I think it was, right? Where you sit there and she's barefoot on the concrete, right? And she's holding one end, and obviously he's got the machine lined up. There is 0 electrical frequencies going through that. She's standing on it, right? And he goes, look, she's standing on the concrete, nothing's happening. And he goes, all right, go walk on the grass. And as soon as she walks on the grass, it starts spiking straight away. And then he goes, okay, jump off it. Jumps off, 0.
Nothing.
And then she jumps on again. So to answer your question, how do you do that? Grounding is one, because grounding it's charging you. It's like, we are all part of this universe, right? And this is why a lot of people go, it's weird he walks around without his shoes, without socks and shoes on, or he's doing this. But I guarantee you that person who's doing that is in a much better headspace and mental state than maybe you are, because again, they've figured it out. And this is how it works. Yeah.
Grounding is cleansing.
It is cleansing. And when you connect grounding with gratitude, it's a powerful force. Because imagine you are now connecting to the universe with, again, you're grounding yourself, but then you're also telling the universe what you're grateful for. And when you
That's where we have to be careful as well. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
Not saying just throw out things.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate my life right now.
Yeah.
So shit.
The power of the tongue is real. It literally, your throat chakra is real. And that's why I say to people, when you're manifesting things, right? Don't say what if, it will happen. Like I said to you at the beginning, right? It will happen.
Yeah.
I am this person. Not, I can be this person, because seeing can is a possibility.
Yeah.
I am that person, right? And the one thing that I will say this, right? Like, it all comes down to, again, your belief in who you are. I'm going to speak on this on a personal time, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, I've done this for many, many years, and I've helped so many people. But when I came online, right? I only came online last year. Now, obviously, my content's resonated with a lot of people, and obviously I've planned it using numerology. That's why it's gone so well. But looking at it from that sense,
And
right?
as well, you're just like sitting filming, no high production level, no fancy tricks.
That's why I'm telling you, this is the game. And that's when people go, yeah, you're just talking to me in your car, because again, I'm playing the game. And this is what businesses can use. This is what they can use to the whole, like, again, spending budgets and doing things. You just got to be authentic and use your own energy. And that's all it takes. It literally is all it takes, is that. It just baffles me sometimes, because it's like you're so close to it, right?
Yeah.
But then you just don't do it.
So let's go back. Finish your thought as well. I'd love people to hear about the $100 in your right.
Oh yeah. So yeah, we'll go back to that. So let's go back to the whole, I spent $1,000 and it taught me a lesson, remember?
Yeah.
So let's circle back again, and let's say that I want it again. So number one, like I said, is gratitude. Being grateful for
We
receiving.
be grateful for our problems and our lessons and things like that.
You need to be grateful for the lessons, but you need to be grateful for what you have. I think what a lot of the world focuses on is what I don't have. And that's the problem, right? So people can sit here going, I want money, I want fame, I want all this stuff, right? But if you're sitting here saying that, and then, you have a roof over your head, you have food getting served to you, you have a bed to sleep in at night, some people don't get that. So it's being grateful for what you have is so important. And the universe listens, because if you're sitting here going, I want this and I want this and I want this, there's actually a really good quote. I mean, I'm sure you've probably read the book, Think Rich, Grow Rich, right? Yeah. that line. I don't remember the word for word line, but remember he said the universe will never grant you unlimited abundance in exchange for nothing, because there's no such thing as taking without giving.
Yep.
It is the same concept, right? So you could sit here going, oh, I want to be rich, I want to be famous, I want to do all this. And the universe is going to go, okay, Dylan, I'm hearing you. What are you doing about it? Like, what are you doing to actually, what are you exchanging, right? And it could be time, it could be work, it could be whatever it is you're doing. But if you're sitting here going, I just want this, it won't happen.
Well, like a really easy example, tangible evidence of people that can like understand it in the context of our world that we live in today. What people grow the fastest on social media? People that truly deliver value to other people.
Yeah.
And then they get the benefits in exchange for that. People that are just posting selfish content all about them, not giving any value, they don't go anywhere.
And that's what I mean. That's why with my content, right, I speak to everybody, and like I said, I'm not in a big studio.
Yeah.
I'm literally just in my car. Like literally, sometimes when I'm even thinking of what I'm going to film, I'll just drive and I'll get a thought and I'll literally pull over and just do it. And that is because, again, that's how you should be living life. When you're in tune, again, you shouldn't think about things that just happen.
What's your personal belief on like what is source? Like, because it can be God, it can be the universe, simulation. Like it's coming, right? Like these things and downloads are coming from somewhere.
Yeah. Well, I like personally, I believe in God or the universe, right? It depends what it is that you believe in. But I believe there is an all high power, right? And that power is within all of us too.
Yeah.
And this is why when I talk about manifestations, you can become the person you say you want to become because you have the power of the universe and God even within you. They teach you this in, churches. He's everywhere, but he's also in us, right?
Yeah.
That's literally was, in my head from Sunday school when I was a kid. So you take that same concept and you apply it to your own life, right? If you're saying that I am this and I will be this, you use that power, and then it's very hard to explain. But once you go through that journey,
Yes,
you're going to realize, and you're going to be like, why wasn't I doing this?
Yeah.
When I was younger.
I think I share like a similar perspective. Like I feel like I have like a one-to-one relationship with God, right? And like some of the things, as like I think there's been a big shift back to religion in the last few years, and a lot of people in my life have gone back to religion. I've like researched it and gone into it, and there's a lot of aspects I like as well. But the thing that like didn't sort of sit as well with me, like the only way to God is through this, and like just like all these rules, and like for me, in the way I imagine God, like if I'm a good person, I've got in my heart. That's the most important thing, not the books I read or what I did on a Sunday. It's like, the way you lived your life, how you treated other people, the true intentions. And that's why a lot of like, when I've researched religion, the two things that fascinated me the most was like the evidence of like Jesus's life and that he was a real person, because I think that's like the foundation between a lot of it. And then like end times and like all that stuff. And like, there's a lot of symbolism in the world today that could be pointing that, hey, we're going in that direction. And that's why I would never black and white say that's not the truth, because there very well could be, and there's a lot of evidence that backs up traditional religion, but like I'm not afraid of it, because like if God is the way that God is, like all knowing, like all powerful, all that, like I feel like safe, because if he knew the content of my heart and my intentions, then he'll see that it's pure, and if he was like, okay, I can see that you're pure, you have good intentions, but you didn't follow these rules that were written in a book, you're out. To me, that doesn't really feel like a God that I would want to worship anyway.
Yeah, I agree. That's in that sense,
and that's
as well.
Like what most people believe, but that's just my personal experience with that.
I always say religion's great, because I always say it's good to, if you are feeling lost, if you are feeling like you don't belong and you're all out of this place, religion's a really good place to turn to, because again, it's something that you feel belong now. You go into a group, you go into a community, and you feel good. But the reason why I do numerology and what I do now is because, again, like I said at the beginning, I want people to know it's in you too. And I think a lot of people are told it's not. A lot of people are told it's not, from, hey, you got to do this, you got to do that. But it's like, you build the life that you want based, if you do good things, like you said. And I always live by this rule: one small act of kindness can open an abundance, open a wave of abundance for you.
I believe that
really quickly. And that's what I mean, that you just live life like you do, and you play the game with the universal energies.
Yeah.
It's hard to lose. It really is. That's what I mean. There's so much things we can go into, but but I want to go back to that thing, because I know you were talking about, because I know you probably want to know about it. But let's say I won $1,000 again this time. Gratitude, grateful, right? Yes. Because without God or the universe, you would have never gotten this, right? So that's number one. And then once I take the $1,000, what do I do? Okay, all right. Let's say, like I said, my work shoes are broken, so I need new shoes, right? So I'll spend that on me, and then I will go and I want to start a business. So I might invest something into it, maybe to I file a course or something like that, and then I'll put the rest in savings, right? Everything that I just explained to you then comes from a place of light and good. It doesn't come from a place of sin or lust or anything like that, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
That's what I mean. So then what the universe will do, right? It will go, okay, I saw Andre, he played the game, he used it right. And then straight away, what's going to happen? Money loves speed. And whenever you start doing things like this, it picks it up very quickly. And then abundance starts flowing in. And then how the universe works, right? I just did that. $1,000, I was blessed. I said, thank you. I did everything I needed to do. I played the game. Then the next time something happens, it's going to be $2,000. It's going to be $3K. It's going to be $5K. It's going to keep rising. And I always say to every client, this is how you play the game. But again, it's always going to be a test. If you somehow fall out of line, somehow don't do right things with it, you're going to know about it. Because then again, and this is why you see people, I don't know if you've ever met someone, right? But they're like, I just put my name in and I just win. Right? Some people have that encoded, right? And that's really depth in numerology, like per person. But that feeling of, hey, I just put my stuff in and then it just worked. That's how literally life is when you do abundance.
I've always felt very lucky in life somehow.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it comes down to who you are, because nines go off your actions. It goes off what you are. And karma is real. Like karma, talk about karma being so real. You can say it's the universe, but again, I always like to say it's the universe's, I like to say it's its sibling, or it's like to say it's like it's, if the universe was obviously the all high, this is like it's, I guess you could say it's security guard or bodyguard. And it goes around and it literally makes sure everyone's in line, make sure everyone's not acting out of line. And if you are, you're going to know about it, right?
But so karma and karmic debt from the like spiritual belief of like multiple lives and stuff, and karma won't always be delivered in that life.
It won't be. So there's different levels of karma, right? So karma in general is when you are just living life and you know you did something bad, and you know, because I always say when people go, I didn't know it was wrong, you know. That's just one of those things you just don't want to admit, right? But your subconscious knows if it's wrong, or like if it's right or not, right?
Yeah.
So I always say karma, there's basic karma where if you do bad things will come back to you. If you do good things will come back to you. Then if we relate it back to date of births and looking at numerology, you also have karmic debt, right? And this can be formed from past lives, past soul lives, right? And generally with karmic debt, you only really have four numbers you need to worry about. It's 13, 14, 16, and 19. And all of them relate to karma energy, right? This is why when I see people who are born on these days, 13th, like you're 31st, but it's like 13th, 13, 14, 16, 19th. It may not mean they have karmic debt, but because they're born on this day, it carries a lot of karmic energy. The universe is then going to test them throughout the whole life. But then again, people think of it as a bad thing, right? But I always tell every client, if you can figure out the knowledge of what it is, you can play the game and then get above it and actually win.
There's also, so the karmic numbers, karmic debt. There was the other thing I wanted to speak to you about was it enemy signs or enemy numbers?
Enemy numbers.
What are enemy numbers?
So enemy numbers is going back to that theory where I said to you, it's like, you know, odds and evens don't get along. So every single life path has a compatible sign, a friendly sign you can call it, or it's an enemy sign. And like I said, if we go back to the theory of like, not the theory, but like the belief of what it is with you and my energy doesn't go with this energy, right? Odds and evens don't get along. But I always say that if you understand the game when it comes to your compatibility, you can avoid a lot of conflict. You can avoid a lot of upset. You can avoid a lot of disappointment. And what you're going to find, I always say this to every client, when you start discovering your numbers, reflect back on, say, who you've let go in your life. And you're going to find a lot of the times it's the opposite number. Like I said, odds and evens don't get along. You might reflect and go, that's why that friendship didn't work out, because it was an even number and I'm an odd. So this is how you start. You see what I mean? But then if you know the knowledge moving forward, okay, you know, I'm meeting this person and I've looked at who they are, I'm not going to mesh well with them. And like I said, my whole thing is I want to teach people that you can do this, because a lot of people just go with life. They just go, you know what, I'm going to go with it. But then sometimes it's one of those things where I say sometimes you need to go through things in order to learn things, right? But again, it's free will. You can either follow the path, or like I said, you can play the game and really pave the way for the life that you want. Because there's codes to this world. Playing that game, right? Putting the codes in, it all starts coming in. Or you can just go through life and, like I said, do what you need to do. And then it's like, this is when I see people live life and they go, why did this happen to me? And then I look at the numbers and go, you could have known this from if you spoke to me before everything, but this is how it happens. That's what I mean. It really helps people. And that's why I'm doing what I do.
Yeah.
It shows people.
So let's go back to the $100 bill thing. You learn the lesson.
Yeah, sorry, yeah.
Gratitude,
Yeah, gratitude, we've done that,
respect
right?
money.
And then that's how abundance works, right?
Yeah.
It always reflects back and it will always come back in more waves. But like I said, you got to play the game. If you're out here and you're going out of line, it will disappear. And then there's things you can do to bring it back. Obviously, you know, you got to balance your karma out, or, you know,
How can you balance your karma out? Is that just doing good deeds?
doing good deeds. Yeah, essentially. So it's like, if you know, like, for example, it's like, if you know that you've made money a wrong way, because I get in business, right? Especially the people that I've spoken to and I understand, right? Business is business and it's a hard world, right? And there's some things you sometimes got to do. But if you know that it was rightly wrong, right? You then know that that's karma that's going to come back and get you. But then when you play the game, you're like, okay, I know that this was wrong, but then I can use it to balance myself out. So a lot of it comes from, it's just balancing yourself out. So say, for example, if I did something and made money a wrong way, right? Then I would go and then take some of that money and maybe give it to someone who needs it.
Yeah.
That's balancing yourself out. But if you're out here going, I'm just taking all the money, it's all mine, I'm selfish, whatever it is,
Yeah.
that karma is going to hit pretty hard. And that's when, you know, again, if you understood it, you can play it. If not, you're going to be like, what happened? So
what's some of your other, we'll start to wrap up in the next little bit. We
Yeah,
won't go
cool.
too much longer. But what's some of your other little playing in the game life hacks? So you got your $100 bill in your pocket, walk around, highest form of currency. And then you also said, I think before we started the podcast, when you sleep, putting your left.
yeah, well, that was going to be the next part. The reason why I wanted to do the example, so you understood how abundance works, right?
Okay, yeah.
So that's how it works.
Feeds on.
This feeds on from that, exactly. So circling back to that whole right pocket, projection side, right?
Yeah.
So you are projecting to the universe, you hold the highest form of currency and you respect it. And like I said, when you play the games with your mind, when you tell yourself, this is all I have and I could get this, but I won't. That then subconsciously tells yourself that you respect money. It tells the universe or God you respect money. And then guess what? It's going to start coming more. And what I always say is that if you do this, obviously you're not going to, find 10K on the ground the next day. But what it's going to do is money loves money and money loves speed. So if you start playing the game that way, frequencies as an energy, money attracts it. It's going to attract more opportunities and more money that comes in, right?
So what do you mean by money loves speed? I know what I think it means, but from your perspective, what does money love speed means?
So in my terms in spirituality, when you do good things come back quicker. And when it comes back to energy and money, it's the same thing. It could be the same thing with love. Like love, speed. Because again, if I'm out here spreading love and spreading unity to everybody, guess what's going to come back to me quick?
Yeah.
Same thing with money. So anything that's an energy form, whatever you project out on your right side is what you are going to receive back. So that's why I say this exercise is good, because it helps people with money. It helps people with wealth because you're carrying the energy. So anyway, so that's the right side, right?
Yep.
Then when we go to the left side at night, when you sleep at night, you put it in your left side pocket and you fall asleep with it, because then again, spirituality terms, the left side is the receiving side. So again, you are telling the universe, I'm holding the highest form of currency, respecting, I haven't spent, and actually I forgot to mention, the whole exercise with this, no matter what you do, you never spend that $100 bill, ever. That's like the number one rule. If by whatever, reason, life happens, I get it, things come up and you have to spend it, you have to say to yourself, right? And so the universe hears, I had to spend this money for X. You have to explain, and it has to be a good reason. It can't just be like, I wanted to go out. Like, that's terrible, right? But so this happened, X, Y, Z, now I had to do it, right? And then once you explain it, you then tell yourself, I will get a new one and I will start again. Because again, you're paying tribute back. You're saying you didn't disrespect it.
Yeah.
For X, Y, Z reason you had to do it, and you're going to restart and then do it again. But the whole test is you never spend it, right? So anyway, go back to the left side. You're projecting that out. You're receiving that out on the left side. So this is why I said you're showing the universe while you sleep, because you talked about downloads, right? Our soul leaves our body when we sleep. It receives energy. But imagine you're carrying the highest form of currency where you live. You're sleeping with it. That's energy that you're imprinting into yourself while you sleep. And then if you look back at symbolism, right, and you look at everything, that famous artwork with God, Adam reaching out to God, Adam's hand is the left hand reaching out. That's the receiving side. God reaching back out in the middle with his right hand. That's the projection side, right? You take that same concept, because again, God's within all of us, right? And you start applying that to you, you're going to see things just start to work. Again, this is how it works. This is the energy you can use. And that's why people, if I go around to anybody now, right? Are you carrying cash? A lot of people will say no, right? Because it's the way that the system's going. It's trying to take you away from cash. Because remember, it's an energy.
Yeah.
Going digital, going the whole like money on a screen was, I think, the worst thing you could have done. But if you think about it, it's pretty planned out, because what does it do? It takes you away from it, like I just said. So, but money will never, like, as long as you have money on you, and I always say this to every client, you can start this today. You can literally start this today. They're not stopping you from getting cash. Maybe in the future they might, but right now you can start this.
I no doubt they'll try.
They will try, and that's what I said, but you can start this today. So just start it and you'll see just things start opening up for you.
What?
Yeah.
Where does frequencies come into this?
So frequencies are used purely for attracting or removing what you want from your body, right? So frequencies is a whole nother topic, and I know we're probably got to wrap it up, but frequencies is a whole nother topic where you can use a certain tone to alter your behavior, to alter what you feel. So for example, I recommend to all my clients one frequency is 396, right? 396 is the grounding frequency. And I always say to every client, there's so many frequencies, right? You only need 3. You only really need 3 in your life. That's it. And anyone that says you need more than that, I personally just don't agree with that, because again, I always say that if you use every frequency, remember, this is going into your brain. This is going into your subconscious mind. So think about it. If I'm training something, right, and I say, these are the 3 that all I need, but then I'm feeding it 12, it's going to confuse itself.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, what are we attracting? What are we doing? You know what I mean? But the 3 that you only need is grounding, abundance, and higher self. That is all you need.
So what are the other ones? So 396 for grounding?
396, like for grounding and removing any negative energy, any anxiety you feel out. Attracting abundance is 8, so it's 888. So it's literally, that's the money frequency. And the amount of, again, people that take this on and start applying it, it just starts opening doors. So 888 is the abundance frequency. It's when you want, not even just money, even if you want to attract more love, more friendships, this is how you attract it.
Yeah.
And then if you're feeling a bit off, and you would know because you're being a bit spiritual, right? When you connect to your higher self, 963 is the other one. 963 in the frequency world is known as God's frequency. And what that is, that connects you and your soul to your higher self again. So for me personally, when I'm doing 963, it's when I'm thinking about what's next. Or I'm thinking about what do I need to do, right? It's the planning. And only your higher self knows that answer, right? Because your higher self already knows all the answer.
Really good.
So you connect that, and then it's like, okay, I connect, I feel it, I understand it, and then boom, we go to the next one.
So there was something you mentioned to me before. When you're doing these frequencies, make sure it's the true freak. How can you make sure, if you're on Spotify or YouTube, how can you make sure it's not been tampered with?
So I recommend this to all my clients, and I'll say this to everyone listening too, because again, my whole mission is I want people to use this. I want people to start understanding the game and how it works. Don't do any YouTube music. Don't do any Spotify music. Don't do anything like that. Especially the YouTube one, because you know how it sounds a bit like spa music, and all weird. You don't know what the true tone is, and it's been covered by so many instruments and everything, right? And the same thing with Spotify. Even when you look at Spotify, right, you can listen to 888, right? 888 hertz, you listen to it, and then you go to another 888, it sounds different. It doesn't even sound the same, right? So what I recommend to every client, when you're getting into this, you want to do the true tone. So how you do it, very simple. Again, when I say it to you, you're going to be like, how did no one think of this? But again, encouraging people to do it. Just go on Google, type in online tone generator. When that comes up, you're going to get a little like website or anything that literally generates a tone. And then what do? All you're left with is a little gap. What frequency do you want to listen to?
And put that on.
And then that,
Wow.
yeah, that's it. And like I said, per life path has a certain way they can attract things quicker and easier. But again, that's all you're doing. And everyone's going to say, everyone always says to me, oh, it's definitely something that is, it's not pleasant to listen to, right? It's just a tone. That's how I know you're not ready for this. Because again, if you can't even get through that, then you're not ready for whatever it is you're trying to attract in, right? But I say, if you push past that first minute with breath work, and push past it, you're putting yourself in that mindset of, I'm safe, I'm secure, everything, you will start to see things start to happen. And again, always better with headphones, obviously, and noise canceling ones, because you block out every other frequency. You're just listening to this. And there are so many things, again, techniques we can do within that moment when you're feeling that. But again, this is a whole nother topic, but that's how frequencies can work for you.
Oh, that's really cool.
It is really cool. Yeah. And it's something, like I said, I encourage everyone to do, because again, you can have anything you want. You literally can manifest anything you want.
I feel like we've discussed so many things already, but I'd love if you can, one last little game of life, move up your sleeve that you use yourself or give to your clients. What's one other thing that people listening could test and implement into the life to help them see the benefits? Is there anything else that you do?
As in like what I do to attract things, or how I do to get what the life I want, or
Like any little thing that you've got, like is there like any sort of like morning routine structures that are good for certain life paths?
Yeah.
Anything like that you can share?
What I would recommend, and this is obviously, again, up to you, but again, this is personally, I'm going to tell you one thing that I do every morning. And this is something that's going to help a lot of people, especially when it comes to just grounding yourself. Because when the whole transition of sleep and waking up is so spiritual when you think about it, because that's your soul technically coming back into your body, your vessel. And then if you wake up in a wrong state, or you wake up, and then this is when they talk about how, you know, the first thing you look at is in your phone, and then everything spikes up, because again, it's like your worry, the fears, or say if we're looking at examples of everyday people, it's like, oh, you know, did that business partner text back? Did my friend text back? So you start worrying that straight away you've put a negative frequency into your soul. So what do? You start getting nervous, you start getting anxious, you start feeling a bit off, right? So what I do, and I recommend everyone to do it, when you wake up in the morning, really optional, but again, this will help you. When you wake up in the morning, don't check your phone. Like obviously, you know, don't go through messages, but you're going to need your phone to obviously set this up, right? But again, the intention is I'm doing this. I'm not checking Instagram, not checking TikTok, I'm doing any of that, right? I wake up, put on that tone generator, go to Google, type in that tone generator, put in 396. And what I do, again, people go, oh, it's an unpleasant noise. Push through it and you will see things start to happen. Now, 396 is the grounding frequency. This removes all anxiety, all guilt, all everything that you're feeling. It will go, right? So what I do is I put it on and I put noise cancelling headphones on. Like I said, that works the best. And all I do is chuck it on and just lay there and breathe for 15 minutes. Just in and out. That's all I'm doing. Doesn't have to be loud, doesn't have to be, you know, as long as you can hear it and as long as it's going directly into here, right? And what happens, you're going to wake up all anxious and feeling off. You do this for 15 minutes and just focus on your breathing, as you know, in and out very slowly. And you will see after 10, 15 minutes, or I always say whenever it feels right for you, because you're going to know, right? When you're in that frequency tone, it's really important because a lot of people, there's actually a process. You can't just listen to frequencies and then just go, all right, I'm done, Because remember, this exact point, you're playing with your brain. You're playing with the whole spirituality. So you're playing with your waves, your brain waves essentially, right? And if you do it wrong, you can kind of really mess you up a little bit. But because not as in like, it'll make you go, oh, I feel crazy, but you'll just feel it. You'll be like, oh, I felt worse than what I did before I started this. So that's really important, right? But you listen to the frequency, 10, 15, or whatever feels right, as you are slowly ready to come back, because you'll know, right? Grab, you can still, a lot of people think, when you're doing this, you have to be completely still. No, you can like move around, just keep your eyes closed. That's what's really important because you're shutting off the rest of the world and all distractions, and all you're hearing is the frequency, right? As you're ready to come back out, you slowly start decreasing the volume, right? Not all the way, don't go all the way down. But if I'm sitting here and I'm listening to it, like it'll be really loud, and then I'll go, and it will get lower, right? I'll keep pressing it all the way down until it gets to absolutely nothing. Then when it's complete silence, because remember, it's noise cancelling, so I don't hear anything but silence now. In that moment, right, when your frequency is gone and all you are is left with nothing, like literally no sound, that is when I want you to reaffirm everything. I want you to tell yourself, right, you've just been through whatever frequency you've used, right? Again, for grounding, let's say this is the example for grounding. Okay, cool. I've done it. I've layered it out. I've lowered the volume. And now what I'm going to do is tell myself, I am safe. I am secure. I am enough. I'm confident. I'm loved. I'm successful. I am rich. I'm wealthy, whatever you want to say. But words of affirmation that really help you. Then when you affirm that in that silent period, usually for about a minute or so, I want you to still keep doing deep breaths. And then when you get to the final breath, I usually say do 3 deep breaths in. But as you go in, out, and then on the third one, again, your eyes are still closed. You haven't opened it yet. As you go all the way in and you suck it in, you hold it just for maybe 2-3 seconds and you feel yourself at that heightened state. And then I want you to open your eyes. And then as soon as you open your eyes, you are going to feel different straight off the bat. You're going to feel, hey, where did that anxiety go? Hey, where did that little, off? It's gone. And literally, and this is why I say to every client, you don't need medication. You don't need Panadol. You just need frequencies and grounding. That's all it works.
Yeah, it'll completely change your state.
It changes your state. And that's what I mean. And you can use this.
We have so much more control over our lives than we realize. Even the ones that do realize, it's even Like, yeah.
This is why I say to clients, right? It's like, oh, what if I don't have confidence and I'm going to make money? Go listen to 888. And I guarantee you after 10, 15 minutes of breath work and visualizing, you're going to take off those headphones. You're going to be like, I'm ready to work.
Wow.
And that's it.
So let me ask you this quickly before we wrap up.
Yeah, sure.
So looking at the numerology, I'd love to know like a prediction for the end of this year, and then one like an overwhelming like a prediction or energy state for 2026.
For sure. No. So currently now we're in a 9-year, right? And I'll end on this because I think it'll be good. But right now we're in a universal 9-year. And like I said, it's the ending of cycles and factors. And if you look at a lot of what's happening in the world, you see it. Things are going down, things are changing, things are shifting, right? So then going into next year, 2026 is a 1 year, right? So that means new beginnings. This is why I've told every client, this year, you need to reevaluate everything that's around you, relationships, business part, whatever it is you're doing, reevaluate everything. And if they don't serve you or your purpose and what your goals are, cut them off.
Yep.
Because this is the energy we're in right now. That's why now, even this year, right? Like I can't obviously say too much, but I've had a lot of divorces this year, had a lot of breakups, had a lot of companies not going right. And because we're in a 9-year, right? But this is all part of the
Ending cycles.
So then this is why every client that comes to me going, when should I start business? Again, based on your numbers, everyone's different.
Yeah.
But if you're playing by the universal year, 2026, because that's going into 1 year, right? But like I said, everyone is different. Like I started a business, like I said, like with this online in an 8-year. And an 8-year obviously is a karmic number and money, right? But again, it comes down to what works with me and the numbers. So everyone's different. So obviously I don't want everyone to go, it's a bad year, I shouldn't launch anything. No. It plays on your energy, right?
Yeah.
But if you look at the universal year, that's what it is. And going into next year, it's new beginnings. So that is, again, because 2026, you add the math up, straight away equals to 10, take the 0 out, it's a 1, right? That is new beginnings. And you will find anyone who's listening to this who obviously watches people in the world and business and all these, I guess, people they look up to, watch what happens next year. Everyone's going to bring out new things, new products, new businesses. We've been working hard behind the scenes and this is what we got cooking. They're playing the game. They're literally launching it in a 1 year, right?
It'll be all the big companies, like watch Meta come out with something, watch all the
You'll see.
AI come out with some crazy stuff.
You will see. And then again, if you look at, even if you look at when Meta, remember when Meta purchased things and all that, like when they purchased them on 28th day, like literally it all links back. And that's what I mean. You look at why does this happen? When Elon Musk bought Twitter and then he bought it and launched it 28th day. So everything all reflects back to that. And that's what I mean. There's so many secrets, but again, that's something that we could go talking till that for ages. Yeah.
That was awesome, man. Again, I feel like it's hard to have this conversation because I've only just been really researching this the last 2 days. You know, but I've learned a lot having this conversation. So I hope like for people that are listening, you might be like, oh, that's pretty interesting. Am I 1000% convinced? Well, you're not going to be 1000% convinced off one conversation. But what I do when I have people on or I learn something new, I try it, I implement it, and you will notice some things you'll really resonate with and will really work, and maybe other things won't. But you'll never know unless you try.
Exactly.
So for anyone that wants to, connect with you, potentially work with you, learn more, where's the best place that they can find you online?
Just my Instagram for now. Yeah. So obviously Numerology Unlocked 11. You'll see it's like I guess you could say it's an AI version of me, like the profile photo. But you'll see my face and you'll see all my videos that I'm doing.
Awesome.
But I'm here, remember, to show you that you have all these talents in you. You just got to discover what it is.
Yeah.
And once you understand what it is, you can't lose because again, you're doing what you're meant to do. Right? That's how it works. People go, oh, I'm trying to do this, but then it's like, okay, why don't you try doing this? Like the basketball thing, right?
Yeah.
You're meant to be an NBA player, but then you go play soccer. But if you just followed the basketball thing, your life would be different, right?
Yeah.
But again, free will.
Work with it rather than against it.
Work with it. But like I said, yeah, I'm here to help everybody. My door's always open. My whole mission is to show people this is real and you can use it for yourself.
Look, one last question I have to ask because I wanted to ask it earlier. What do you say to the naysayers that say pseudoscience, don't believe it?
Oh, like I don't believe it?
Yeah.
And again, you're not playing the game. Again, you don't have to play the game. Remember I said to you, if you play the game, you get rewarded. If you don't play the game, you're going to live a pretty, I guess you could say, normal life. But that is a free will choice you're making. But when you look at the evidence around you, when you look at all these powerful figures who have used this stuff, you look at the patterns, it's like, it's hard to knock it off. And like I said, there's going to be people out there that don't believe it. But then I always say that if you don't believe it, then again, you're going to be in the same cycle.
Yeah, it's not for you, just whatever.
Not for you, but I can guarantee you, everybody who uses this, they use it right. And this is how they're making an impact in this world. So yeah.
I love it. All right, we'll leave it there. We'll go for another hour. Andre, thank you so much, brother. Appreciate
Very
it.
much. Thanks for having me on.
We'll do another part 2 one day for sure.
100% down,
Brother.
Locked in.
Awesome. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.